Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?
We're pulling live from the other side of America.
What do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?
We're pulling live from the other side of America.
Mama let me sip the 40. I was just a shorty. Then I started spitting garlic, and they said record me. I feel like this shit was for me. This shit is my story. Yeah. Jump at the porch. I got a Porsche, I'll take it back. I'm on the block with the killers and holding my own, of course. Yeah. I see my mom and dad separate, ain't talking divorce. So daddy was living by the fire, and he died by the torch. I'm where the AKs is. We like the baby kids. Hey, but daddy, I listen to suckers the same way that Ray did. I'm throwing snippets and AKs, and I just was a grade A kid. Hey, on no guy, we grew up with hitters and did everything they said. Put on the block, we spinning that. Running the spot, we getting that. Give us some work, we flipping that. I'm hitting from Jet, ain't hitting back. I need a lawyer, money for commissary, ain't nobody ain't sending that. I'm in my cell, like when I get out, I'm making a movie, no Cinemax. Who? Yeah. Back home, and I'm fresh on bell. Phone chirping, it was next to tell. Block popping, it was extra shell. Big dog, ain't showing remorse. I was begging just to catch a cell. Same block, we was going to war. I was praying I ain't catch a shell. Hey, we installed for 1,000 nights. Living like we trying to die tonight. Got 40 sound like dynamite. I was fucking up my car money. Selling soap like it's trying to white. OG said you fucking the block up. I was mad, I was trying to fight. Nigga, we hoe. Mommy at work, daddy he dead. Nigga, we low. Stomach growling like an AMG, going to bed, we hoe. Uzi on me, all my friends are dead. Nigga, we low. We're pulling live from the other side of America. Pulling live from the other side. Same corner where my brothers died. Living like we ain't got care. Told my mama I ain't dying here. 40 on me, I ain't buying beer. Ain't have a wheel, now I'm flying lear. Bunch of fellas on the jet with me. Make a movie like it's Con Air. Started off in the basement, now it's rooftop.
It's your boy Pomo, a.k.a. Bruce Spiritual.
What do you have to lose? You're living in poverty.
Tonight,
your schools are no good.
Godspeed
You have
TV.
no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed.
Share, add,
what the hell do you have to lose?
Tonight.
We're pulling live from the other side of America.
We're going to talk about psyche attacks, PTSD America. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of y'all can understand that. You don't need to be diagnosed with PTSD. You know what I'm saying? We post-traumatic stress syndrome. You know, that's just living, amongst how we live. But tonight we're going to get into psyche attacks. And we're going to talk about all type of ways, dimensions, frequencies that they can get at you. So that way you'll have this in your safe house and you need to go back to it, you can go to it. And you're going to have to pull it out because they own that right now. You know what I'm saying? Now, the reason I haven't done this video, it was clever from Dark Forces. And it's because I used to be aware, I am aware of them, but I used to see them. I used to see them all the time. And then they started messing with me over time as I raised in vibration, as I got higher in conscious. And it wasn't like, oh, they start messing with you when you get raised in vibration and higher in conscious. No, they know that if they kept messing with me while I was higher in vibration and raised in conscious, then I would make it known to the world. So I never really did this video before, a full introspective video about this. So like I said, it was slick. What they did was made it inapparent or forgettable to me. So I had forgot all about psyche attacks, and that's why they don't mess with me no more, because they would rather me not even do what I'm finna do now. So y'all stay tuned in for the ride. It's gonna be a show tonight. Hold on, let me get my man right over here. He tweaked. All right, like I was saying, psyche attacks. And we're gonna go straight into it. But I'm gonna give y'all a couple of examples. I walk my dog, me and my dog go for a walk. Then all of a sudden, a girl come outside at the same time my dog come out, and the dog run out and then run towards my dog. Okay, that's one. Same street, walking my dog, Here come another dog, a pit bull by itself. So this time I got my pistol and my mace. So I'm like, oh, here we go. So I pull over to the side, like the dog started coming. It's a man driving. And he driving trying to catch the dog. So the dog come around to where I was at in the cut. Dude pull up. He's like, hey, man, my bad. You know, he's friendly. I'm just trying to get him and pick him up. I'm like, well, grab him. You know, because my dog, you know, kill him. So he's like, oh, you know, I don't want no scratches on my dog. But this way they want to do is mess my dog up because they know I love my dog. So this is a psyche attack. So I'm like, man, you going to get out and get your dog? I know he going to run away. I said, man, you better get this mutt before he, you know, come over here and scratch my dog, man. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck is wrong with you? He said, man, he ain't going to do nothing. I said, you know what? I'm going to shoot this motherfucker. He jumped out. Oh, shit. Hey, picked him up, put him in the car. I said, now, and let me ask you something. He's like, man, it didn't have to be like that. I said, I know it didn't, but how come it took me for me to say I'm going to shoot that motherfucker before you jumped out and got it? Before I was just telling you the whole time to get your motherfucking dog. Now, y'all got to understand something. This is supposed to be continuously happening. By the third, fourth nigga this happened to, because it happened 5 times, but probably about the 5th nigga, I'd have been a snap, you know, with the gun. But that's what the psyche attack is for sometimes. Most times it's the build up. Set your ass up on Monday, how you proper dop on stage by Friday. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is we getting somewhere with that one? Oh, let me. I got a lot we got to go into. I got to get that back. We're going to run that back. But see what I'm saying? Set you up so that how you soft play with your ass on Monday. Before you know it, you'll be locked up into a fight. Something been happening by Friday or Saturday. And you don't understand the frequency of the stage they setting every day, minute by minute, second by second, hour by hour. You know what I'm saying? But today, we're going to do a tarot or spiritual tarot reading. And I'm only going to do 2 cards. And I pulled this for today, the inner workings and the outer workings, whether, you know, how it goes. So we go, hold on, let me shuffle them. We're going to do this live. It's going to be a spiritual reading, inner and outer, 2 cards that you know message of the day. I'm going to try to do this every broadcast for y'all out there listening. All right, so now we pulled out. We got the inner. Okay, we got the King of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so we got the Earth thing going here, and then it looked like we got some emotions. So we got the King of Cups strongly, you know, facing upright. So the King of Cups, your inner workings. Today's reading is a large. Hold on, my fault. Today's reading is like Neptune. The King of Cups reigns over the sea. His authority calms turbulent waters. He is creative and compassionate, often a doctor or counselor. So that's good. You strongholding on that. That's your, you know, that's the inner calmly of, I guess, today or a couple of more days till I read the next one. And you know, he holding a cup so he can control his emotions. And then he got the rod in his right hand, meaning the fire. He can control his emotions and he able to sustain his energy. And he's sitting on his throne looking very confident. So that's the inner, y'all. Let's go to the outer. And we got the Ace of Pentacles upside down. All right, let's see where that goes. Ace of Pentacles upside down. Wealth doesn't buy happiness. Careful. Are you spending money needlessly? Look to the pennies. Now, we ain't saying be cheap, but what they're saying is if it's upside down, that means due to your inner workings, you're going to get a blessing from the sky. But you want to be wise with your blessing from the sky because you got it with the 2 eyes that you can't see in the mind. You understand what I'm saying? So this is how we're going to do that. Do this one. So in the external world, there will be forces arrayed against you to make you lose, or hopefully you lose appreciation of the finer, I'm going to say finer like rich, but the beautiful things in life, the natural things in life that don't really consist of money. So it's like this. I said in one of my shows, man, Joe, you know, it's a problem when a man got money. What do you mean? You say, see, when you ain't got money, you think when you get money, it can make you happy. At least you got something to look forward to. And maybe you never get money, so you'll never know. But when you do get money and you still miserable, then what's going to help you then? So there we go. Ace of Pentacles and King of Cups. That's the tarot reading for the day. Now we finna get into the show. Y'all got a pot in the body. I'm just a fool. And now, I got to explain something before we go in. I know, you know, people want me to let me do what I do. Let me see. Okay, hold on. Let me like one week. I want to talk about tonight. We're going to do the black screen. And the black screen is we connected to the Akashic records. I want you to use more of your mental versus using your mental and your visual. I mean, your hearing. I want to use more of your hearing, more so than your visual. I don't want to split it. If I can split it, I'll play all visual with no sound. Can't do that. So I can split it with, if I Disconnect the visual. We're gonna get all sound. Now you can move around, do what you do around town. You see what I'm saying? Because I want this to be soaked in, y'all. Y'all gotta understand this is real. This is happening. So let's go. We're gonna get into tonight's show. I'm gonna play some, an expert, and then we're gonna continue on. But I want y'all to listen to not an expert, but an expert like that.
But it's very much what his dad said about it at a psychological level. If we conceive of PTSD as a pathological alteration of brain circuitry, which we're certainly allowed to do, some of which is already suggested by functional neuroimaging.
Now, I gotta remember, these are the scientists that's studying y'all ass to do this, to create with these, to come up with these psychological situations that accidentally dropping in these certain places so you to pick up, and it's a magic. They be dropping scientific magic in the hood so somebody can pick it up and see what's good. You know what I'm saying? Don't get fucked up. It's always understood. Sorry for cussing, man. I love you.
Then perhaps increasing neuroplasticity could facilitate the creation, or maybe better, the recreation of adaptive neural pathways, which could help resolve the problem of traumatic stress. In other words, in terms of our cartoon, build a new door, maybe even install a very efficient doorbell, and people could restore their signal processing capacity and be well again. It's interesting to note that transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is also being tested in PTSD, I think the jury's still out, but there are some signs it may be helpful as it is in depression. Magnetic stimulation also alters the activity of similar brain circuits and may be increasing neuroplasticity as well, in a way that's complementary to ketamine's effects. All of which brings to mind Eric Kandel's statement in his seminal article, Psychotherapy in the Single Synapse, where he says, I'd argue that it's only insofar as our words produce changes in each other's brains that psychotherapeutic interventions produce changes in the minds of patients.
Now I'm going to say that because y'all like, man, what the fuck is he? Why is he white? So now breathe to count to 10. We're going to walk through this. We're going to get through this tonight. And I'm going to make sure y'all get the full comprehension of Shadow Walkers, the Jinn, a.k.a. Satan and Friends, Agent Smith. You know what I'm saying? We can keep on going to spaces and motherfuckers in between. And when we say that, people in between your chakras, if your chakras separated, they create a space in between, they dwell in that. If they solid, they look like a Visa card, they blend in with each other, and then you say, you know, we right here build. But I'm finna get into why I'm playing that right real quick. Then we're gonna go back to that. We're gonna go back to that. Let me put that next to each other. All right, psychic cording. Etheric attachment cords. Energetic ties commonly form between people, places, timelines, and objects, especially when the connections are deeply emotional in nature. These attachments clairvoyantly appear as long as thin, skinny cords. Y'all remember in the Matrix how they came when when Neo woke up and them things was them technicals? Yeah, y'all know that was chasing the mental plan. Like, I'm gonna stop saying that too, but y'all understand what I'm saying. Sentios. Like great long etheric telephone wires, when these attachments remain between people, they can become a conduit for draining energy from the field, to empty. All right, from draining energy from field to empty. I got the Book of Eli, y'all got a pardon. Generally, this is usually from the person who has made an effort consciously or unconsciously to energize the one who is an energetic vampire. These cords can also send and receive pain, guilt, fear, and any number of thoughts and feelings that may not even occur or be yours. Traumas experienced at various times in one's life may create cording or fracture your energy to split off and be depleted in the past as the source of events. Hence, the importance of being present in the internal now moment, as one has available all energetic resources when the conscious is aware in the present time. Much illness and unbalance or imbalance is caused from depleted energy resources meant for the present moment use. However, the mental body is rearing or swirling in obsession over pain from the past experience, leaving the body severely depleted. Hold on, we're going to get into that. We'll go back to where I was at.
So perhaps a neurochemical intervention like ketamine, a transcranial magnetic intervention like TMS, and a psychotherapeutic intervention like talk therapy all act on the same essential pathology. They all act on the loss of signal processing secondary to psychological trauma that results in a residual pathological response. And maybe restitution requires the development of new neural networks, connections, facilitations, with consequent effects on thoughts, feelings, interpersonal relations. And I really want to emphasize that if you want to get at the human brain, one of the best ways to get there doesn't require fancy equipment. It's talking and listening. Because as Kandel says, that too can actually change the structure of neuronal systems.
Now, he did not say nothing about visual. He said talking and listening. This is literal.
These are all ways in. And it's really a matter of figuring out the best way in for this individual at this point. I'll mention, and I'm cognizant of time too, I bet Dennis and Mike are, that epigenetic changes have recently been pointed out in psychological trauma, actual changes in the way genes are methylated. In other words, whether genes are flexible or not flexible. Can they be opened and transcribed efficiently, or are they blocked by a methyl group? And apparently trauma blocks gene transcription.
So if they want to create a chemical or something to put in you, they can say, damn, we want to block the God body style. Other than injecting you, or if they even do that, they create trauma. It's had the same effects as that which create the illusions of shadow walkers, and not the illusions, but the aspect of them seeing you and you seeing them, or the attractment towards you. We're going to stop him for a second. Okay, losing energy through cords. It is possible many times. I want to make sure we're at the right spot, y'all. I got you. Walk with me. Okay. We're going to talk about losing energy through cords. And when you giving these psychic attacks, people draining your energy, you know how it go. People around you, you know how it go. It is possible many times these cords drain away energy, grid work from your etheric body, where the attachment is attached. I'll say it again. Where the attachment is attached, depleting the area of chi and leading to imbalance or disease. Often these problems can be perceived as a psychic attack when strong emotions flare up. You can muscle test or utilize a pendulum guidance to be clear whether you are feeling in fact a attachment, and then take steps to clear and release this situation. The pendulum swing left or right, but at the same time, you want to keep on focusing on the middle. And if you don't swing the middle, if the pendulum don't swing, it'll be stuck in the middle. That's not exciting. So you tap it, move it, hit it. External, tap the internal, create a fire. Tap the pendulum, and then it swing, but it's still, if it swing fast enough, it'll have a middle point. Breathe, basically breathe, fire breathing at that time, going to the automatic pyramid state. Breathe, where you go straight to God. I mean, it's hard to fight when you come up out of gut mode breathing after breathing one breath a minute. You be so gone, you forget who you is. So, like that. We're going to keep going. The more attachments you carry, the more conduits for potential problems and loss of energy and grid work in your field. This will also slow your vibrational increase in one's effort to evolve, as your light body is trying to build more grid work to maintain that energy level and vibration. Releasing attachments with unconditional love through forgiveness and self-acceptance goes hand in hand with spiritual growth. I just gave you a jewel right there, just to let you know. We're going to go back to my man Fufu though.
Practical suggestions for the field of traumatic stress. And of course, the very next slide is the standard disclosure. What follows are my personal views rather than those of the Department of Veterans Affairs. But the disclosure slide leaves me room to put in this little quote from William Faulkner, who was so obsessed about the past and the present. And this statement, the past is never dead, it's not even past, really provides a theme for this discussion of the status of traumatic stress research and clinical work, which can only be fully understood and projected into the future if we pay attention to our own past.
This society does not allow you to travel. It don't let you
think. It don't let you get a chance to stop for a moment and begin to contemplate the reality of yourself. You don't even know what to do with silence. You get scared when it gets silent. You need something to keep you aggravated, to keep you agitated, because you've become drugged by the stimulus. Stillness is somehow aberrant to you. Just like any other junkie, you need a fix of stimulus. And that stimulus is constantly having somebody talk to you, constantly having your TV going, constantly needing to hear music, constantly needing input. You've been drugged. You've become conditioned to have input.
Attachments that form may be imbalanced or conflicted emotions that we are carrying in our beliefs and our connections to others. Lacking awareness of our personal boundaries, we give away pieces of ourselves energetically due to guilt, psyche attack, aka witchcraft, the men in black, conditional love, and allow our power to be drained when we conform to another's expectation of us without allowing expectation for who we are at the authentic self in our authentic time. To fully release cordings, one must be able to identify and do an honest inventory of personal emotional behavior and habits. Saying this, when you separate yourself, you know you act crazy, but you don't want to act like you act crazy. You separate yourself, and in that space of separation, the shadow walkers and the dark entities kick in. Only thing they want to do is bring fear to you. And then once they bring fear, they can work off everything else. Once they bring fear, you forget the fear, then they loop the situation. Then they loop you a fear situation. You go out there and you tell your cob. So now you've seen the dark shadow walker entities, and then you get real scared. Now you're living a little scared. And then all of a sudden, the shadow, the entity produced the fear. Now you think a thought, or the thought is already subconsciously programmed in your mind by external forces. Is the Geico commercial come on? Yeah. If you crash your car, call Geico. You go outside and feel just in the Geico commercial. Next thing you know, you're driving, boom. Breathe, brother, breathe. Let me go back to what I was at. I'm sorry. Take off like that. I'm sorry. My bad. Okay. Authentic levels. Be you. Be the authentic you. A lot of times, in these times, we are in a age of you scared to be you, to where you even go be non-sex before you be yourself. That's how detrimental it is. To fully release cordings, one must be able to identify and do an honest inventory of personal emotional behavior and habits. Any conflicting emotions should be separated out. If one is confusing love with support into codependence or taking responsibility for other happiness, then you are opening yourself up to invasion by others. The ambiguities of these interrelationships may prevent you from fully cutting the cords. Examining one's true self in comparison to the stubborn abuse we are exposed to from external sources, such as our upbringing, religion, societal expectations, other programming, is important to gain clarity towards regaining our autonomy or self back. These are ways to fight psyche attacks. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna go back, and then we're gonna, get down like that. Let me get my orange shoes, y'all.
You are the basis for all information
Ocean
that
Entertainment,
exists
Native Minds, SFL, Music.
And if you could still the outside chatter and all the psychobabble bullshit for a moment, you will be overflooded with all of the shit that's encoded into your chemistry right now. If you were to shut out and go into, and I had the experience to go into this tank that takes away all your senses, that is the most horrifying experience I thought I would ever have, because everything came rushing back to me. Without any kind of outside stimulation to keep me distracted, my brain blew up. All my chemistries began coming back, and I began to get these flashbacks from the time I was a child. And until you can purge your chemistry of all these encoded information, these pieces of encoded information, these bits and these bytes that are locked on and become crystallized into your DNA, until you have cleansed yourself of that, you will always be in the wheel of karma.
Emotional wounds vulnerable to cording. In energetic healing, it has been clear for a person that emotional conflict left unresolved from the past will create some sympathetic responses in organs, tissue, areas of the body where trauma may be rejected or stored. energetically within all layers of the body and its fields. The particular event of perceived trauma or suffering will be prolonged, or suffering will be lodged as a dark clump of negative ego goo or tar-like energy, sometimes with multi-chords, layers of attachments to various other life experiences that trigger the same response sources at the original event of trauma, cancer-like. This compounds the original trauma with even more accumulated debris, and to my inner vision appears something like a dark, clumpy octopus with tentacles sourced at various timelines and events that trigger the source dark clump of energy to activate the emotional body to experience further pains and sensations. Yeah, man. Hold on. They would experience people the perception of a sensation of a deep wound of trauma, let's say, as an example, established as a very young child. The trauma timeline at that age of the child gets splintered. A piece of the soul spirit fragments off from the pain of the experience and shut down various energy functions that develop into psycho-spiritual wounds later into adult life. Psyche attacks pathways, psyche attack pathways, psyche attack pathways. Deep wounds left unresolved make a pathway from the energy bodies to the physical body and lodge and store the trauma pattern cellularly. And the physical body starts to create imbalance unique to the incarnate's genetics, ancestral karmic patterns, and other factors. Emotional release, soul retrieval, and additional physical body work, as in neuromuscular restructuring. It is needed when the wounds are deep and held in for a long period of time. Meaning y'all ain't talk to nobody. You just kept keeping it in their mind. Come out here looking like, damn.
Because you will harmonically keep coming back to the same kind of life form or the same kind of mother father that vibrates to that particular experience. So when you go into your agitation or your meditation or your meditation, and you begin to see yourself slowly, the first thing to meditation is do not refuse what comes into your mind when you go into a place of stillness. Most of these yogis keep telling you, go home, yell, start chanting so you don't hear all this shit. That's bullshit. All you're doing is adding more shit to the shit you got in there. The idea is to sit still. You don't got to twist your goddamn legs up around your neck and your back. Just sit the fuck down.
That's all you got to do.
You sit down and you chill, or you can lay down. Don Juan asked Carlos, find your place of power on the porch. And Don Juan was looking around at this old wooden porch and said, a place of power? What the hell is a place of power? And he looked around, he was busting his ass, and he said, damn, how can I find my place of power? And he was up till 2 and 3 in the morning, and finally he fell asleep. When he got back up, and Don Juan came up on him and said, I see I found my place of power.
You sleep.
That's where he went to sleep.
Let's quit playing. Psyche attacks, that's when the gateway open, aka Men in Black.
Now, a little, you know, hopefully you won't get tired of history and pictures, but this is an observation from Sir Francis Bacon, one of the fathers of empiricism, and really a man who helped shape modern science back in the early 17th century. And he made this statement: medicine is a science which hath been more professed and labored, and yet more labored than advanced. But the labor having been, in my judgment, rather encircled than in progression, for I find much iteration but small addition. And for those who, you know, aren't into 1605 writings, basically what he's saying is that medicine advances in circles rather than in straight lines. And frankly, he also points out that people talk more about what they've accomplished than they really accomplish. And
it's simple. Lay down, sit down, but go still for a moment. And allow all the noise to come in. Do not refuse the noise. You see, the idea is that the reason why you have held on to your karma is because you've held on to the judgment that you've made of the experience you've had. When you affix a judgment to your experience, you have claimed it, and you have become the judge that incarcerates yourself.
Are really part of an effort to adapt, that once you overcompensate the trauma, get stuck in place, and now you have pathology. Epigenetic changes may be just another level of that kind of adaptation that unfortunately becomes part of your pathology given time. So, in a strange way, and trying to get back to my circular theme, this brings us all the way back to Freud's 1895 unpublished work during his lifetime, which he called Psychology for Neurologists, although his editor, James Strachey, called it the Project for Scientific Psychology. And I won't take up a lot of your time, but if the mind didn't evolve some way to cope with instances of overwhelming stimulation, it wouldn't be able to adapt and manage in the world. So Freud says the ego is developed both as a mind and a brain function. And this diagram shows you that, yes, you could go right to unpleasure and be overwhelmed, or the same stimulus could follow a different track and go into the ego. And I won't spend a lot of time with the alpha, beta, and delta of this, but if you will, what Freud is showing here is that the brain and the mind have adapted a way to drain off this overwhelming quantum of energy and store it. This is, in fact, a neurological model of repression, so that that overwhelming memory and the feelings associated with it get put in deep storage. Now, you pay a price for this. That quantum is stuck inside of you, and it can produce neuroses. But, on the other hand, you are not overwhelmed and going down the path to pure unpleasure, traumatic anxiety, as you put Dr. Call it.
Course used in manipulating emotions. We witness an energetic entity, spirit attachment, multiple personalities, or just a dark being latched onto this wound and manipulating the emotional response to that of its desired rather than to its unaware subject. This is why clearly it is important to see. This is why clearly it is important to break outside the 3D box. We have been conditioned as our absolute reality and understand these dynamics and not allow anything uninvited into your energy field. The simple antidote to these phenomena is a maintaining your personal power with the build in God awareness you have in you with your unique intuitive faculties. I'm gonna read that again. This is where it's worded, y'all. It's kind of worded like this, and this is like backwards. I'm gonna read that again. Y'all need to understand this. This is why clearly it is important to break outside the 3D box we have been conditioned as our absolute reality, your 5 sense self. You don't notice the 6 sense. And that's what they know is a 6 sense to you. And they tap into the 6 sense and under that 6-point star. And you unaware of it and they play with it until you wake up and realize, man, you playing with my shoes. Like that. And you kick them up, get the fuck away from me. Like that. Okay. And understand these dynamics and not allow anything uninvited in your energy field. The simple antidote to these phenomena is maintaining your personal power with the built-in God awareness you have in you, your intuitive faculties, and stating your right to command personal space. You will need to be responsible for your healing in order for it to be permanent. Many times your inner child and sub-personalities will be sabotaging you from emotionally repressed and built up fears. And I'm gonna go back into that when we go back 3D box. And I just told you how you absolutely know that's you, and then we're gonna go into the dynamics of your energy field. So I'm gonna read this again. This is why clearly it is important to break outside the 3D box we have been conditioned as our absolute reality and understand these dynamics and not allow anything uninvited in your energy field. Okay, now once you're aware of this, that's 75% of the battle. The other 25% is coping with yourself to believe this and then figuring out should you tell other people and have they saw it. That overrides the 75% of which you actually see, feel, and understand within yourself without nobody telling you. So it's like a baby. You see things like a baby, so you see them. Problem is, you need to override that 25% and say, I don't give a fuck what another person think it is what it is, and there's other people out here like that. And then you're gonna find out in the future they had cloaking, shadow cloning technology where they played with the public under the Tuskegee experiment, maybe about the year 2099, like that. You understand? You know what I'm saying? And they say they're gonna say, oh, people used to run around, like they seeing ghosts, or they used to scare people. People didn't understand, and they used to do witchcraft. They didn't understand magic and science and things of that nature. And they called them witches and shot them and did all that, but they didn't understand how to manipulate because the whole world of America is using the same thing that they killed the witches for. I don't understand that analogy. Let's go. Okay, what was I? All right, yeah. So now, do not allow anything uninvited into your energy field. So a lot of times when you need people, you need a little money, or you do things, they keep you broke. The reason, first thing, is keep you kind of dependent or interdependent with somebody is because they're gonna have you interdependent with a fucked up ass person. This is gonna be a good game right here. So you always need to either call this nigga for some. You got weed, call this boy. You got to liquor, call this person. But you got a price to pay to deal with these brothers. You know what I'm saying? So that's one aspect. It's attaching you to something in the way with which you need physically. Then you get into the emotional aspect. It's all the four elements. They lock you in with the four elements, depending on what element you is. Like that. So go get into sexual course next. Yeah, might well get into that now. Hold on, let me. This got something to do with relationships, You know how it go. We're gonna get into that, then we're gonna go back to my boy. But y'all gotta rock with me. It's Godspeed TV. Like, subscribe, share if you dare. It's your boy Pomo, aka Bruce Spiritual. I'm using the black block screen because we're gonna dig into this situation. Because I know this is happening to a lot of people, and a lot of people hit me up about it. And I didn't know. I forgot all about them. They don't even fuck with me, they don't even come around. They don't even want me to talk about this. That's why. They think they slick. Sexual chords. One interesting factor to note is the energetic and physical act of sexuality and its implications on the energy field. The sharing of fluids between two people creates The sharing of fluids between two people creates a spiritual bond or a cord of energy that cannot be broken energetically unless made aware of, clear of conflict and transmuted. Man, let's let them go. I forgive you. It's cool. So psychological bonds may be broken once a serious relationship has ended. However, the spiritual energetic core still continues to exist. That's why you be sitting over there like, oh, 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 I love her. That shit. These cores are like, we could fuck around. I know people want to hear this. I'm sorry, y'all. These cores are like electrical wires with energy passing back and forth through them. The power based on the depth and the intensity of the connection. It is also important to understand that it is also important to understand that the thoughts and emotions held on the state of conscious you are holding when you are having sex is what you are implanting into your partner. I'll read that again. It is also important to understand that the thoughts and emotions held or the state of consciousness you are holding when you are having sex is what you are implanting into your partner. Naturally, being in love, holding loving thoughts with desire to serve your partner is the goal when you are energetically blending at this level with another being. The incredible emotional impact of love as a force shared and blended in a soul union can burn off karma and even contribute an amazing force of transformation for others. Understanding these karmic bonds you create with people every time you have a sexual interaction surely create more discernment in one's choices for their partner. Sexual courting. So let's dig into that just a little bit. Just a little bit. I know y'all know that. Hopscotch, rocks. Okay. Now, in saying that, I want to read this because I ain't know this either. The incredible emotional impact of love as a force shared and blended in a soul union can burn off fat and karma and even contribute an amazing force of transformation for others. So that's why I got in this rap. I say, how I go, say this rap real quick. It's the 50 Cent. She said, anyway, the hype say, "Ooh, y'all look good together." You know what I'm saying? It's like when hype say you look good together. People say you look good together. This has happened either consciously or unconsciously, and both of y'all, when you having sex and you're doing it right, and then this is the force that everybody see the light. You know what I'm saying? And then like that, and karma. So you mean tell me if we just do it, and I think about another girl or think about nothing like that, think about the partner, and we create, I love you, you love me. You didn't mean tell me I ain't got to go through as much karma because the love is outweighing the karma. So what happened when people be cheating on each other? Ooh, we, but Eli, well, what's that? Y'all cool technology 101. We're gonna keep going though. I want you to let that soak in. Let's just let that soak in. You know what I'm saying? We'll go back to the elders. We're gonna get it in though. Psyche Attacks, Godspeed TV, y'all rock with me.
So affixing yourself to an experience puts that experience as a signature that keeps replaying itself over and over again because you are the judge. When you begin to see these things come back into your head and you begin to look at all of the things that you've had made judgment of, the secret is to become the observer of the observation and that which is observed. And once you just become the observer and detach yourself from the observation, boom. To look at yourself and to observe yourself without affixing a judgment to what you are observing.
Hold on, Elder. I gotta go back to that sexual cord and spirit. Somebody to spirit telling me say some more. I don't know if somebody want to know some more about that sexual spiritual cord. I'm gonna go a little bit more into it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I know, I got you. I got you. All right, so in a nutshell, they always say, man, why should you have sex with? You know what I'm saying? So you in a relationship, y'all kicking it, they cheat on you, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden she start acting a little weird. Do it again. All of a sudden acting a little weird, and then you feel like, man, bitch, you acting a man, you acting a little, I'm gonna use a woman. I don't want to have to go back and forth right first for a man. I want to go back and forth, but I'm just gonna use a woman because I'm a man. And I'm gonna do this, I can do it easier, you know what I'm saying, instead of bouncing back and forth, Man off for a man. Just women look at it opposite, man look at it opposite. So I'm sitting here, no, man, you all right? You a little broggy, a little aggressive, you know what I'm saying? Gotta, feel like you look at a little extra testosterone, what's going on? Oh, it's cool. But what is it really happening, depending on the nigga she fucking with, that's the nigga that's energy going up in her and it's not blending with mine. And it's kind of off, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be off, and it's always gonna be off because you got, like a strange smell and shit, like that. So she become deranged because it's blended with that on the side and this now, and it just keep blending, and the woman become deranged because two energy bubbles have entered her cipher, and it's too much going the fuck on here. So that's how you gotta be careful. So if you're gonna get you a little side dip, a woman get you a little side dip, get y'all something similar to y'all man, and that way you won't go insane. Understand? Brothers, you won't go crazy too, because nigga, you get lost. What the brothers do had effect, them they start drinking too much. Man, how the hell pussy make you drink too much? I'll wait for playing with program.
Very difficult, because if it is specifically and personally attached to you, somebody fucked you over some way and you hate that person. They did something to you that is unforgivable. Well, you are attached to that.
Psyche attacks.
You're going to be connected to that because that's exactly what it is that judgment has done. Connected you to that experience and thus to that person.
Okay, somebody piss you off. I see there's a lot going on, and it's justified. You know what I'm saying? And they do this a lot online, and they do this a lot in society, but really online now it's a weapon. But somebody say something stupid about you, keep saying something stupid about you, keep doing something stupid about you, and you be trying to be poised. Then one day you shift and the ego kick in. And you kind of sit back like, man, fuck this. And you might mollywop be right, but you in your ego. So now you got a state, you saying, no, mother got me fucked up. Niggas don't know who I am, Chief Wahaka Ali. I get down in 7 Seas, kill 22 niggas, all that shit. And then you can do about a series of videos, meaning you stuck in that dimension for about a month. Some people do it for about 3 weeks. Then all of a sudden, you locked into this energy of defending yourself against what? Nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Unless it's right there in your face, you ain't really got to defend yourself in no artificial place. And once they got you in that defensive self mode, that's all they need is you to loop you into that energy. And you thinking, telling a person or telling them about themselves, but really they just needed that energy. How can I get you mad if you got a body? You can't just, man, okay. You can do it this way. Niggas be talking about you. They say, like that, female, go like that. So now they got you in that energy dynamic, and then how powerful spiritually, unconsciously, or consciously you is. You better pray you ain't too spiritual, because you can create your worst nightmare. And that's what a lot of things was going on in these times. Our spiritual powers have been heightened. Due to it been heightened, you leaving the vibration and going into a higher vibration, and leaving the vibration, you seeing things you never seen before. But the problem is that you leaving that motherfucker, so you don't see him no more. But if you was to go back and play down and go to sleep and stick around, and the shadow walkers gonna act and it's gonna get down like clowns. I'm trying to tell you. So when you do see this, the power is not to fear it, because you have a physical body. It don't. So please, a wind to blow this motherfucker away. I smack it with some damn car keys. Witchcraft. Yeah, I'm aware and fully aware. And what happened when they do that shit on me? They get around and wrapped around a tree. You understand? And this is real talk. And see how they got me in the ego, but it ain't the ego. It's just good, because when I want to put the Jordans, I'm in the shoes on. I might throw some Jordans. I might, flex. But don't get stuck in the flexing. Because we make 100,000 videos flexing and forgot why the fuck they was even on. Necessity of strong energetic boundaries. The more attachments we carry, the more conduits we have for potential problems, loss of energy in our particular grid work. So again, when I say grid work, is your energy field, your town, your city, how far you want to go out, you know what I'm saying? Like the terrain on a video game. All energetic imbalance and disease really restart. Okay, I'm gonna read it again. All energetic imbalances and disease really start getting created through the higher template structure, through the etheric body. When medical inventors or when medical intuitives and clairvoyants can start to see imbalance in the energetic body, then that means the next step is going to be a physical manifestation, if it haven't manifested already. So working with the etheric template fields is extremely important. You can avoid imbalances in your physical if you start working with the etheric template body through spiritual house cleaning and clearing it up again and up and out. Clearing it again, up and out. Basically, I'm just giving y'all an idea of how it will look. A spiritual house cleaning is clean your house, clean your car, keep everything supremely clean, which is the Wadim and God's Hood Lick. It's when you on your Wadim, you keep your head covered, you know what I'm saying? You keep your house clean, your mind clean, as clean as you can and as possible. You know what I'm saying? If you go in somebody's house and stuff and it smells, you gotta keep it, smell good, feel good. But if you go in somebody's house and they got the socks sitting over there and the shoes sitting over there, you kind of change up the energy, you know what I'm saying? And then if you talking some spiritual shit, there's a lot of people out here on it. It kind of like, okay, you know what I'm saying? So that's how that do. And shadow walkers psyche attacks do not like clean environments, mentally, spiritually, physically, or like that. No, they don't. They might send a nigga over your house, he drop a bed bug or a roach, and then they come. Y'all better be careful with them boundaries I'm trying to tell you. All right, what was I at? Okay. Okay, yeah, down and out. We're gonna get back to that though. I'm gonna let him. He said something about medical intuition.
To Freud, this is what hysterical people were doing.
So we talking about science.
In some ways, strangely enough, a lot of the modern neurobiological theories are actually coming to repeat these same themes. Neurological and even genetic systems meant to hold and store trauma, to insulate the mind and brain from trauma in order not to feel it, but only at a price. That price might be PTSD. So, turning a corner on this, how do we go from all these people over all this time trying to take the same phenomenon, describe it in different terms, and being like the blind man and the elephant? How do we look at the history of our field, the many concepts, the many approaches, and pull them together?
PTSD is multiple psyche attacks.
This is what Leon Eisenberg called, how do we prevent going from a brainless psychiatry to a mindless one, and then back again? The fact is, if you look across modern theories and treatments of PTSD, the leading evidence-based psychotherapies like prolonged exposure, cognitive processing therapy, or cognitive behavioral therapy in general, or EMDR, eye movement desensitization therapy, all agree in a very basic way that the resolution of disorders of traumatic stress depend on facilitating the survivor's ability to forge vital connections between memories, thoughts, and ethics. They just each go about it differently. They all say that there's a problem in processing that has to be overcome. And this is a longer slide. I won't read it all to you. But P tries to stimulate emotional processing by habituating the mind and brain to noxious affects, feeling like if we can get that overwhelming noxious feeling associated with new experiences out of the way, normal processing and resolution can take place. Cognitive processing says, well, you've got these cognitive stuck points, and if I can help you resolve the stuck points, you can start processing your experience, including your traumatic experience, and again, normalcy will ensue.
But the problem is, the stuck points is the spaces between the chakras that the shadow walkers play. So what you're saying is, without spirituality, you want to try to use medication to blend the chakras. Plainly, man. So that way we can have a normal experiences, aka PTSD, go away and won't see these shadow walkers, psyche attacks. And y'all gotta understand, psyche attacks come from people, entities, spirits, and AI tech and technology and AI technology. Yeah.
Now, in your meditations, as you go deeper into yourself, the best way I see it to be done, and I did it, is to get a picture of a helix. Blank out everything around you. If you can get all your blank walls and look at a white helix, or white with black helix. The helix is what you see this, like the caduceus for the, right, what they call the medical symbol, or the DNA energy. Yeah, this, not a spiral if you want, true. But it looks like the caduceus with the serpents wrapped around each other. When you do that, when you have put that particular witness in front of you, that becomes a witness to the image that you wish to imprint yourself into. It becomes the way for you to journey into that part of yourself that matches that particular symbol. So as you begin to become still, and it will take about maybe 3 or 4 tries before you become still enough with all the dialogue you got in your head,
using the elements
and the monologue to go along with it. See, the dialogue is you arguing with what it is you're finding in there, and the monologue is the judge. The dialogue is between the prosecutor and the defense attorney, and the monologue is the judge. And that's what's going on in your head all the time. So when you begin to see the court action going on as a person outside of that whole drama and not affix anything to that, now the more you go into that space to see the drama, the more faded it becomes, because there's nothing to attach you to it.
Courts can be formed when we allow our power to be drained, when we are conforming to another's expectation of us. So anytime we are not fully in our authentic soul power by accepting who we are at this deepest authentic level, and that's the mind, and that the big mind control program in the third dimension, we have been trained, conditioned to be programmed that if it is successful, whatever the expectation is coming from in the social or family types of belief structures, this is where these cores also form. Attachments can be created when we are not in our personal power. And this is why it is so important to really be self-aware in our behaviors. Spend meditation time getting to know who we really are, as well as being conscious in all interactions and in our relationships with others. I believe that many times, if we are lacking awareness in our energetic boundaries, we will be easily courted and drained by an assortment of parasitic energies. We've been discussing the energy boundaries of what a proper auric boundary is, so that you're more self-contained and protected, which is again 12 inches beneath your feet bubble chakra, 3 feet above your head, and 4 feet in diameter around you, is about where you should be holding your energetic boundaries. This is described in the 12D shield practice. The 12D shield is your energy field protection. Now let's go. I'm gonna read that again so you can get it in your mind and you can form it etherically. All right, protect yourself. Now, we've been discussing the energy boundaries of where a proper auric boundary is, or your 12D shield, so that you are more self-contained and protected, which is again, and we're gonna read it, 12 inches beneath your feet bubble, 3 feet above your head, and 4 feet in diameter around you is what you should be focusing on, and keep peace always in that situation. Now, I'll read forgiveness. And I'm giving y'all some weapons, so because I ain't just going to talk about it. We're going to be about it, something to do about it.
And the more you go into that space where there used to be real noisy, oh, did I turn off the stove? Or I got to be down here and I got to be, all these little pieces of noise you got in your head. As soon as you begin to do this, looking without putting any affixed judgment to it, sooner or later you go into that space and then nothing happens. Nothing comes up but blank slate. And then after you sit down before that helix and you begin to see that helix now without any conditions attached to it, without saying whether it's a serpent, whether it's a helix, it is just a shape that matches itself as a witness to that part of yourself. Now you are in that space. Once you get into that space and you begin to feel yourself dropping into it, that now you begin to see yourself going into this space that looks and feels like light. As you are going into this space where you see it's your body, you will see different parts of your body as bright and parts of your body as gray and hazy. Now, as you're going into that part of yourself, the part that's bright is either overloaded or has enough energy and is not affected by all your thought processes. The part that's dark and gray is the place where you've stored all that fucked up experience. And what you want to do now is, with that observing part of yourself, is to move the light or your attention and your intent into that part that's gray and begin to fill that part with the light that you have in other parts. And as soon as you get inside of that space, you begin to feel yourself immersing inside that dark space, and then all the memories of that moment and all the moments that you stored in that area will start coming rushing back into you. And you begin to feel and sense all of the experiences within that moment. And I'm kind of jumping ahead because I know Brother Bobby is ready. But when you are deep inside of that place, that gray area that is not as bright as one area, that gray area is the place where you have stored all of your judgments, all of the experiences of others that have given you pain, all of the shit you've been going through as a human with your mother, your parents, friends, the whole 9 yards. Every piece of judgment that you have that has made you become connected in the next time, in other words, connected you or giving you a ticket back into the flesh. All of those are now you're going to begin to feel all of those experiences. And the more you immerse yourself into that gray area, and the more you keep the intent to bring that light to that gray area, the more the gray area will dissipate. And the more you go back into that particular meditation, the more you will begin to see yourself less and less with these gray areas. Now, I know it sounds like it's, well, how the hell you do that? It goes by, I know something that people don't like to do, repetition, discipline. This is something we don't want to do. We want it done now. Take a pill, it's over. But it was a process that took you into hell. And it's going to be a process to get you out.
Forgiveness. It is important to know, okay, it is important to know is that in the release of these karmic depths and these karmic cores is that one of the most potent frequency tones and colors to be used or released these karmic cordings is forgiveness. So a lot of the time we are releasing cores when you are consciously cutting and clearing cores from another to directly use and also setting up your intention as you are releasing that you are completely bringing into your body this tone, color of forgiveness. This emotional tone is a pink ray of energy, thus that runs through many other tones, but is a main tone. And even if you bring, even if you just bring it in pink ray, and that the intention is to hold the complete tone, sound, color, emotional quality, that feeling related to forgiveness, unconditional forgiveness, and unconditional forgetfulness. Forgiveness actually dissolves all of karmic backup, build up, and loop, all of karmic cording and karmic depth into a greater understanding of unity and of the accepting the lesson that has been learned or witnessing what happened with neutrality from that person in time when that particular courting that had actually taken place.
Why asthma will be the rule. Asthmatic conditions will be the rule as you try to clean off the mucus and burn it up. The more you use your brain, the faster it will be burned up, and the more you get the headaches, and the headaches will go away because you'll finally begin the frequency like you're supposed. You must awaken now. You are the melanin carriers on this planet. You were the original 12-stranded people, and you were given that privilege through a whole lot of work and time. It was not something given to you by chance. Because you fell from grace and sought to make better than your creator, you suffered by that you created, and then also was brought to your planet that you created in a higher form. In other words, once you think that you are a God, you must act God-like, not sometimes, but all the time. Because once a God falls short, there are so many things that are not God-like, just waiting to lapdog you up and tear you apart, that you're open then to the whole holocaust of the cosmos, not the fake holocaust on earth. The real Jews, as you found out, are you. The 13 tribes had nothing to do with just earth people. It embodied Lucifer Maldek, the exploded planet, which rained down upon you those lost souls, which destroyed a whole planet in your system that you helped sustain. Many of you are reincarnate Maldekians, Luciferians, and you probably don't even want to deal with that. But if it is truth, it will come back to haunt and vibrate. I'm now triggering all your opening points. We'll see which ones run with it.
Moon phases. The moon influenced. Hold on. I gotta pardon me, man. This week just right. All right. Moon phases. The moon influenced the subconscious mind, contents to come to the surface of the conscious awareness. I'm gonna read that again. Let me move this out the way so I can read it right. The moon influences the subconscious mind contents to come to the surface of the conscious awareness mind. A person that is self-aware on the spiritual path, growth path, will seek to know themselves more deeply by studying the content of their own subconscious mind. If you pay attention to the feelings that you are having during the full moon or the dark moon cycle, it is generally the subconscious fears or emotional conflict raising up to the surface of the conscious mind. This gives us the opportunity to look at our fears, pain, and hidden weaknesses in order to clear and connect that part of our mind into the spiritual light. Don't be surprised that during the full moon and the new moon cycle, when the dark side is facing towards the earth, these are the moon phases when the effects of the black forces are the most intense on our planet. This means that the dark forces will take advantage of the moon phases as there is an increase of these black, what they call retrograde black stubble forces, along with extreme density of gravitational energy. When there is a full moon, there is an illumination from the sun's reflection that isn't there on the cycles of the new moon. As a result, the new moon has more intensity that increases the proliferation of the black forces into the earth environment. Luch. There is a pressure of contraction that is placed in the atmosphere of the earth when the moon is in the new moon cycle. During the new moon phase is when the most gaseous pressure exists between the gravity forces, the lunar forces, and the magnetic field anomalies that occur between the earth and the moon. These moon phases are days that are conducted for the black magician and occult rituals with negative intentions. Psyche attacks. And y'all gotta understand black magic and occult and all that, black magician. It's just magic. White magic, black magic is just your intention on what you want to use your magic for. And there's just certain people aware of magic and they use magic. It's just basically what's your intent. And then there's some people that's not aware of magic at all and think that everybody just use magic for ill intent because that's what they have witnessed. You're right. I ain't never seen it. I ain't gonna say never seen, but you learn magic, you do kind of want stuff to go your way. You know what I'm saying? But it shouldn't be at the expense of others. And you shouldn't be fucking with people because if you get a return with your magic and you fucking with the wrong person, that shit be wrapped up around a tree. I don't even be knowing this shit. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. All right, what was I at? All right, we're going to go back. All right, these moon phases, because they use it on your ass, so you need to use it back. Let's go. These moon phases, shouts out to NRG, Day Moon, with the worm. I'm trying to build my Solomon temple without bricks. And I think I got a worm, but shouts out, sister. I heard you. I got you. Let me keep going. The moon phases are days that are conducted for black magic and occult rituals with negative intentions. Not only do we have a massive amount of that black stubble force coming into earth, we have black magicians, Satanists, and random people doing occult rituals that are trying to capitalize on those energies, which is in many cases create even more dark energies. This means that the psycho, or we're gonna slow down, y'all gotta hear this. This means that the psychic aggression, the spiritual attacking, and phenomena attacks are going to be more aggressive to the light-filled people on the full moon and new moon days. When we are aware of the moon's potentially harmful effect, it is easier to have a proper context and take better care of ourselves and not take it personally. So by saying that full moon, go to the club, there you go. You can play with it if you want. We're gonna go into psychic aggressions though, before we go back, and then we're gonna slide into the elders. But let's go to psychic attacks, psychic aggressions. All right. Introduction to building a strong physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual immune system. Why is it that some people frequently seem to be under psychic attack and others seem to be oblivious to it? It is just that some people feel it more, or are others better protected? It is clear that empaths, people, soul-connected people, and people highly sensitive to EMF, 5G technology, AI situations, square ideology, got niggas catching cases, and other energies are much more prone to levels of sensing negative energy, sensing psyche attacks. This qualifies for most of all indigo and star seeds. So basically, it's that it's already happening. It's just that you are more prone to it. You know what I'm saying? I read that already in the last paragraph, but we got that out the way. So we got the moon in relation to psyche attacks. We're going to go to the elder, then we're going to come back. Like, subscribe, share.
In the great role of play
Love you,
that
mommy,
is
you
a
there.
planet, people are brought to it to learn and to show in physical embodiment, physical reality, in a lifetime, what they have learned in the heavens of earth. What they have learned on the spiritual and mental plane is of no value until in a time when given a physical body with physical challenges, you see what you can do really under pressure. Time and time again, some of these best people failed. And time again, as they failed, it lowered the vibration of the planet until the planet was put into a coma. The planet now wants to awaken. It is almost awakened, and the more you begin to channel in successfully this new energy through your pineals, through your melanin, your energy fields will attract more and more of cosmic light. Let's put this another way. Our sun was nothing more than a step down transformer. Some people call it, if you're into physics, a transducer. It is now a capacitor. It is a step up transformer. Whereas at one time it filtered out great light and energy that came from deep space to our planet so that we could live under a sun. And you remember the saying, there's nothing new under a sun. And there isn't. In 59, it completely reversed its polarity, and now it is sending forth energy, augmented by the kind of what they call cosmic and gamma rays that are coming into it. This year, by this summer, you will begin to hear more and more about sunspot activity, solar prominences, perturbations, and how our sun is a deadly enemy about to annihilate us all because it is going to burn us up with X-rays and gamma rays. Not all of us.
So when you say magic, you say, well, what do you mean by that? They say magic. They say, well, good magic, black magic, dark magic. We don't really see good magicians. You never see somebody who just do magic spells to help people. But you would do a magic spell to hurt somebody. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that. You know, it's like I never really seen that one. Beautiful magician. ETs and telepathy. Beyond this planet, most of the extra dimensionals or ET species, as well as other more technological advanced human civilizations and commonly used forms of telepathy as a primary method of communication. This is because it is more natural to the spiral energy flow of consciousness, and electromagnetic fields also more accurate, fast, and advanced in relaying multiple layers of meaning that are held in information streams. External speech is limited by the comprehension required of written narratives or native language. Basically, business is an English language. We handicapped, you know what I'm saying? Spanish is a language of love. Now you know why we hold the money up to our ear. Witchcraft. Nothing bad, just showing you how they use, how all that tie into that. Boosie holding the bill up to his ear. This how this tie. I'm gonna read it again. This tie into Boosie holding the bill up to his ear, the stack of money. Witchcraft. I'm gonna read it again. This is because it is natural and more. Okay. This is because it is more natural to the spiral energy flow of consciousness in electromagnetic fields, also more accurate, fast, and advanced in relaying multiple layers of meaning that are held in information streams. External speech is limited by the comprehension required of the written narrative language, the linear time it takes to communicate verbal sentences, the problem of necessitating physical interaction, forgetting what has been communicated over time, and limiting dimensional perceptions of the meaning and the depth of the spoken word that affects or attempts to define complex concepts and a variety of possible contexts. Most of all ETs species are highly telepathic in transmitting and receiving information, yet they all have different ranges of telepathic abilities, competencies, and ethics that are exhibited through their interaction with their own species, which can be uniquely different when interacting with species. You know, man, what the fuck you mean ET? You know, we stuck in black and white. Stuck there, you mix the black and white, the black pepper up with the white pepper with the white salt. You can't never bring it back. It's gonna be gray. Remember what he said about gray spaces? So if you can't never bring it back, that means, damn, I done mixed up with the white. Now we great. Now how I'm gonna separate this? I can't. Well, I need to keep going. So skip all that black and white. Then you go to the bottom at the goat. Now he on the mountain under the melodeck. I look him down. Nigga, I go past the goat and go into space. And now you go here, ET situations, AI program technology. Got y'all out here fighting and killing each other. The girl that got shot, the girl in the back of the head was under this AI technology mind programming. The two-dimensional synthetic alien technology world, which is the computer, two-dimensional, is ran by that. Scientists fucking with AI machinery. Insane. If that's ran by that, the two-dimensional world, in reality, is the emotions. So they say we can get to the instinct because the grass got to grow. So that's the first dimension. So, okay, so we're gonna go to the second dimension. What the emotion of the animal? So we're gonna lock this two-dimensional screen into the second, two-dimensional reality, animal reality, but it's gonna be a 3D form communicating with it. And we're gonna make this two-dimensional. How you gonna make the two-dimensional animal talk or the two-dimensional animal spirit talk? Easy. We're gonna make Facebook, Instagram, everything, and that's the two-dimensional animal talking to the third dimension. So you mean you make this dog talk to me? This pit bull I train to kill talk to me? Yeah, just go on Facebook and it's gonna be somebody talking crazy to you, just like a pit bull. And now what happened? You and your motherfucking feelings, and now you finna kill him. However, there are also different ranges in which ET species will recognize the personal responsibility they have in their telepathic interactions with other species, such as possibly the possibility of indirectly impacting timelines in destructive ways. I'm going to read that again because this all tie into psyche attacks, okay? I'm going to go back again. They have in their telepathic interactions with other species, such as the possibility of indirectly impacting timelines in destructive ways. FBG Duck. His timeline was going to get his baby some shoes so he can go back and party, or some Gucci so he can go back and have a beautiful day with the rollie on. They switched him to some shit that you'll never think happened where he gets shot downtown at the Gold Coast. Y'all know that's a switch timeline. Shit like that don't happen. I wonder why they were scared of Carlton Weekly. These responsibilities are based upon natural laws governing the timeline, which further organize in multiple dimensional hierarchies that act as the gatekeepers between harmonic universe and extends into parallel universe. Those that are generally first to contact starseeds telepathically are from their same spiritual family and DNA template, or are those who believe that they have claimed you. Believe that they have claim upon you, such as though alien hibernation. It is the tendencies that these entities that exist in a timeline in a lower density that is beneath your main spiritual representative family will not contact you directly unless they have extended some control or influence over your mind. Aleister Crowley. They ain't gonna contact y'all directly. You want to be like Aleister Crowley? Let them control you. Go ahead, let them control you. Let them control you. Duck gonna be Lil Durk gonna be talking about, man, I seen an alien. I used to talk to alien. I bet I be saying shit going on people's head. So I got that earth, like saying that shit gonna take a minute, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take a minute for my own self, so I be talking so fast sometimes, Joe, I heard myself talk. I had to stop. I was like, how the fuck am I listening to myself talk to. Do you hear me? I need a little break. Y'all, hold on. Let me go back to the elder. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Not all of us. Some of us. And who are the us's? Whoever are the chosen. How are you chosen? You choose yourself by following the disciplines you know you should have been doing, not tomorrow, but yesterday. By doing the readings and the research and taking the time to spend in meditation, the things you thought you should have done 5 years ago, you start them immediately tomorrow. By not being threatened or coerced, you do because of the goading mechanism within your own spiritual consciousness, that you know you should be doing, as though a policeman was there or mother was looking, and you do better than both of those authoritarian figures because you are rising. Once you channel in that light, for every one of you, you're worth 1,000 of non-channelers because they're the dead. They will not awaken. You cannot wait for them. If you do not do that in mass, you will be subject to the technical prowess of a people who are soulless that now have control of this planet. And if you're ready to go up against them, I bless you. If you're ready to go up against them alone, I feel sorry for you. For you will learn a lesson that will stay with you forever. You cannot match them in their technology. Forget it. What you knew subconsciously, and what you know even as you hear the tone and tenor of my voice is true, is that somewhere or another you could raise a spiritual quality that could match that in some kind of way. You just didn't know how to go about doing it. And you know that you had lost something and you wanted it returned. You have that privilege now. AIDS and every other man-made deceptive agent to stop you from progressing physically and cause your journey of life to end quickly will only be thwarted when you can raise your vibrational rates enough where none of those things can exist within that contact field. And then
Psyche
those that met it and made it will meet out its suffering and suffer the same thing that they started. The planet cannot help you till you vibrate high enough to take the light. It's just that simple. Other than that, you will be destroyed just like those that are trying to destroy your planet once again.
When we progress on the spiritual ascension path, we may have contact with various benevolent ETs while we are a match for their conscious state of their particular dimensional reality. And this contact will stop when we move our conscious into higher realms. Contact can be reestablished, but generally through your direct inquiry and request to communicate again. If these entities are beloveds or are beloved, it is the protocol for those in higher dimensions, the higher self sends them down to directly contact those in lower dimensions. So when you see these aliens, these are dogs in the fourth dimension. You know what I'm saying? Let it soak in. You see these aliens, these are dogs in your higher self dimension. That's how advanced they is. They dogs get down like the little grays, which is they want to talk to you, just like I said, the computer. They created the two-dimensional emotion to talk to the two-dimensional emotions, how you all mad on Facebook, but the way they do it in your higher self, they tell you, them the dogs, you go down there, slide that have mathematical to my boy or my girl down there, getting it in on it, and we going to, or I can do it like this with this computer and create a worm or a wormhole and fight back. Soul talk, gold. Man, I forgot that song, NRG Moon, Lucifer something, man. Damn, man, they keep on fucking with my mind. They don't want me to say it. They don't keep playing with me, man. They don't keep playing with me. Anyway, I got you, though. I'm going to write it down. Contact can be reestablished, but generally through your direct inquiry and request to communicate again. If these entities are beloved, it is the protocol for those in the higher dimensionals to directly contact those in lower dimensions to prevent timeline interference, FBG Duck or King Von, and so on. Unless they are the rogues like the NAA, and the NAA is the Orion, negative entities, service to self, Queen Elizabeth and them pinky ring, bow to the, like that, nah, I got all the candy instead of sharing the attitude. Those that are more beloved chose to protect free will through a non-linear interference policy to respect the evolution process of the less developed species. Others, such as the Orion, know humans are good telepathic transmitters that broadcast out their thoughts and impulses without discipline, and yet cannot discern what they are receiving telepathically. Thus, they are the definitive, make sure I read that right. Thus, they are the definitive black magicians. that choose to dominate and abuse Earth humans through telepathic mind control, implant thought forms, or implanting thoughts. I'll read that again. Thus, they are the definitive black magicians that choose to dominate and abuse Earth humans through telepathic mind control, implanting thoughts, and perpetuating psyche attacks. Physical, psychological warfare ways through telepathic psyche attacks are the easiest way to carry out divide and conquer domination agendas in order to control a less telepathic species. First, they're going to keep you arguing in a home. Thus, reliance on, I'm going to read that later. I ain't going to give y'all that right there. I gotta go back. Hold on.
Two people. Well, have some fun with your own body this evening. When you go home, check that out, that little mound. Underneath, check and see the little opening or depression that's there, and understand that all men on earth do not have that. Some men on earth do have it. Very few, if any, women have it at all. It is one of the things that mark the separation of the sexes. And a lot of double talk has been made about that hill, that mount, that depression, and that tunnel that leads up into the skull directly from the mouth. This is why many sons of God who take in a lot of cow products and mucus-making products wonder why in the world they suffer so greatly while others eat all kind of cow products and don't. That is one of the reasons that your doctors and scientists do not tell you. Because if enough things get in that passageway, it will begin to hurt. It will also begin to stop you up, and you'll get one of the biggest head colds you've ever seen in your life. It is not coming from just mucus that's taken into the system. It's coming from that little drainage that goes down that passageway, especially from the sons of God. That passageway was to be kept open. And a lot of instructions have gone about, a lot of edifices, a lot of buildings and huge monuments have been built to that one miracle that was left as a sign for the sons of God so they would know who they were and also know what they should do to ascend. Many of the Oriental masters who took the ancient teachings understood this and worked with it in various forms of Chinese, Japanese, and Oriental arts. Many of the Africans, I guess also with the Zulu and with the Hausa people, and against, of course, the famous Yoruba people. The Yoruba also knew and taught of this science.
Thus, rely on spoken word is considered to be the language of a variety of primitive or undeveloped species, and is another classification that is used by the alien or Orion to justify, or the shadow government to justify the use of Earth humans as worker-slave classes, like Oprah say master class. She look like a big-ass alien too. The form of verbal communication that are common to Earth inhabitants are considered primitive to many of our more advanced neighbors and ancestors, ancient ancestors, whose brain process thoughts and store conscious information with a much deeper multidimensional perception of language and at a much quicker rate. Thus, when interacting with a non-terrestrial that has not incarnated on Earth, the communication is always telepathic transmission of concepts, ideas, pictures, and images, aka psyche attacks, as well as through emotional and sensory experiences. 3D, HD, now they got holograms. Sometimes they can relate their consciousness communication into native language of the species receiving the thought form through I'm going, man, I ain't even try to read that. OMNILINGUAISM. Okay, we're gonna see what that means though. But this is the ability to transmit a field into a spoken, read that again. Sometimes they can translate their consciousness communication into the native language, aka hip hop, of the species, receiving thought forms through. The reliance on spoken word is considered to be the language of a very primitive and undeveloped species, and in another classification, this is used by the aliens to justify the use of hermits for worker slaves. This form verbal communications that are common to Earth habits and make people have problems. Okay, that's what that word means. But this ability to transmit a field into any spoken or written language is a mastery reserved for incredibly advanced entities. Then we're gonna go back into what they talking about. I got y'all, I told you. And most likely attacks after you listen to this tonight. So far, females watch who you, men watch who you having sex with, females watch who you having sex with. Man, watch what energy you putting out with. You know what I'm saying? Know that there are forces beyond y'all ability to see, but can feel and understand if you're aware of it that happen or control. And y'all gotta identify that in order to overcome that. Where we at though? I got you. Gotta do that right.
What that particular thing is reflected very much in what is called the Great Pyramid. The pyramid at Giza on the plateau there, in which we falsely call the Sahara Desert. That was not the desert it was built on. Now the lectures I explained why that does make a big difference. It was a very interesting piece of land that now has been surrounded by the Sahara, and now they consider it having been the Sahara. It was not. It was a very key piece of land there, which some of these ancient people, these Lord gods, if you would, chose to build a huge city. And on top, one of the highest parts of the city was what we now call the Great Pyramid of Giza, who again, Western man teaches you is Cheops, but we know was actually supposed to be whose temple? Khufu. All right. If you will take a look at what is called the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, and those 4 slabs of stone that rise above the King's Chamber, they don't have a blackboard, but in a parapet like this. 4 actually slabs, and then above it is a whole little room-like built. They state that this is where the body of the king was to be placed upon his death, and that's why they built the pyramids. I state to you concretely, the pyramids were never built as an entombment for anybody. It definitely wasn't built for Khufu, and certainly was not built for Cheops. Had nothing to do with any of that, but as a people degenerate and ignorant, do not understand what they see, they make up fallacies, and since the books are read as textbooks by us, we fall victim to the same lies and misinterpretation through ignorance. That pyramid structure was to resemble the skull of the sons of God, and to teach them that once they could understand this, they could then rise to the idea of the other edifice that they put out in front of it, which runs 240 feet, weighs something like 600 million tons, and is carved out of a solid piece of granite called the Sphinx. Mark my words, you're going to hear more and more talk about the Sphinx this year and through 96 than you ever had. And by 95 and 96, it's going to start giving off vibrations. Just as man's skull, that is the Son of God, will start giving off vibrations. When it gives off vibrations, the skull of man, the real man, the sons of God, will also start giving off vibrations. And when that tunnel to the Grand Gallery also opens as the stone falls away, so will the tunnel leading to the pineal gland within the sons of God open, and the powers will begin to run through him once more.
Beyond this planet, most of the extra-dimensional or ET species, and this is what happened to the rap. This is the rap game, hip-hop. Remember hip-hop when I'm reading this. As well as other technological advanced human civilizations commonly use form of telepathy. And telepathy is rapping, how you can freestyle. You got to really think of the words you're going to say before you say it at a fast pace. That's a form of telepathy. Biggie. As a primary method of communication. That's why I got to freestyle when he talk. A lot of people got to think what they say. They can't think in real time. You notice. And a lot of people can think in real time. This is because it is more natural to the spiral energy flow of conscious and electromagnetic fields, also more accurate, fast, and advanced in relaying multiple layers of meaning that are held in information streams. Did I read that already? Hold on. Yeah, y'all. Yeah. Yeah, my bad. I'm tweaking. Elder got me over here tweaking. My bad. We got that out the way. Yeah, that was a rap game. Hold on. I got you. I'm going to let him finish off. My bad.
Everything here was a symbol for those who were dead to finally awaken. That's when the pyramid became the tomb. It was never built as a tomb, but when those rightful users of the tomb fell in ignorance into necromancy or death-like knells, lost in consciousness, and the planetary vibrations also shrunk, then all that was an entombment. The soul of man was lost in the skull of an animal.
Core Soul Protection. The Core Soul Protection is a spiritual healing package and prayer treatment, 3-point ray, to be dedicated to ourselves and others in order to help reclaim and integrate soul pieces, clear out negative spiritual influences, and strengthen the core self and soul self. We ask our avatar selves to return all codes, fire letters, and the jewels, wings, energies, and parts of bodies that have been misdirected, and return them now and rightfully to its owner. You know what I'm saying? In the name of self-sovereignty. Henry stated that commanded into the presence of now, meaning living in the now, man over matter, or be in this world, not of this world. We invalidate the beings by commanding a full dissolution and dissolving to the one God source light through forgiveness and forgetfulness. Completely heal and seal the personal auric field from any or another intrusion. I'm gonna read that again, and I'm gonna tell you what's going on in Chicago. Completely heal and seal the personal auric field from any further intrusion. Return all energies and essences that were in divine right order now through the return rightful owner, and he give it back. But they messed up the queen's aura field, because as soon as she healed from one child, another one died. See how they keep that wound open like that? It's like a hole in the sky. Hold on, I'm gonna keep reading though. Let's see if this. I'm gonna read that for y'all. Hold on. The elder speak. We're gonna get into that. My bad, y'all. My bad.
For he could not awaken and quicken to the vibrations that came from his bloodline, and was no more than the dumb beast of earth, who some people were told to subdue. Not all people were told to subdue. To make this even more simple, or to get even more complex, we have collectively on the earth what we call 5 races of man. There are not 5 races of man. We have collectively on earth 7 continents by which this man may exist. There are not 7 continents on earth. And we have collectively again the colors black, brown, yellow, white, and pink by which the races of man are colored. There were also green, blue, and red men on earth, and we've forgotten about that. The only one we hear referred to as a red man now is so-called Native American, which we call misnomered the Indian. Our planet has come under a period of ignorance, dumbness, and lowered vibration, and that time is now to move. It is past. There is no reason for ignorance, dumbness, or lowered vibration if you want, and if you happen to be of the sons of the God and you don't respond to it, you will soon be dead. Now, isn't that a big threat? I'm not making a threat. I'm interpreting new and future knowledge. As a metaphysician is supposed to, you have to find out whether you can agree with it or not. There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
Negative forms or lower form energies, misqualified vibrations, remove all imbalanced matrices, devices, and structures here and now. Further, remove any and all negative entity, negative attachments, negative elemental, negative alien influence, negative karmic implant, negative alien implant, any negative karmic pain traps, any negative manipulation with intent to harm. Please scan and check my body for and remove any of my mind and mind control for these booby traps. Remove any mind control, booby traps, thought forms, beings, phase disruptors, disease booby traps, holographic inserts, pathogen blood pullers, chemtrail drops, or any kind of structure interference draining my life force, or spiritual energy through karmic superimposement and their relative enslavement devices or programs that are interfering with my free will of expansion and self-determination to serve my highest power. Clear any black magic, ritual, spell, curse, or symbol. Clear any negative past life artifacts. Clear any and all psyche attacks with any frequencies of manipulation or interference to derail me. Clear related attacks of vampirism or cording in all negative cords. Remove all impact from negative mass conscious energy or leakages connecting to those particular collective conscious programs. Dissolve and neutralize all AI signals, EMF disturbances from any human and non-human source that is generating negative energies with the intent to harm.
Human, by which if you look in the encyclopedias and dictionary, it says we're all human beings. That's a lie. We are not all human beings. Human is animal man. Hu was the god Hu, which was the lower planes, again, under the old teaching of the ancient Sudanese and Nubian people, and later on the so-called Egyptian people. It was a mixed race. You're going to find out just how mixed in a minute. Human did not come from God, or what we call the Creator, but from Lord, or which we now call the Lord God and animals. They were a creation by scientists who we now refer to as Lord gods. And they made human by engrafting and changing the animal life at different times as they found it on this planet and from other planets, and dropped them off here. God's man, this is the key, the ones that had the key to the Sphinx and the pyramid, were from the sons of God, or which we now refer to as the angels. And they were a cross between mankind and the sons of God, or the angels. Understand this, in fundamentalist teachings, angels are those spirits who represent the Most High and who fly around with wings and live whether it's in Herod or some of the lower heavens and do the biddings of God himself. That is a fundamentalist interpretation. I do not decry religion. I do not argue religion. I say that is only one interpretation of an angel. The other is those who mastered the angles, those who could bend light rays, those who understood the four pillars of the sacred sign of the swastika, which was not called the swastika, but a whole different name.
Atlas and Axis. The Atla Major Center is an extremely sensitive portal of higher consciousness awareness, which alter us to the signature of negative energies, entities, and toxic influence in our environment, the hood. As a sensitive portal of consciousness that links directly into the brain and higher heart complex, it is highly susceptible to a range of implants, psyche attacks, and misalignments. When the outer major center is misaligned, it interferes with brain function, heart center communication, and higher sensory perception. Blockages in the outer or blockages in the outer neck center may result in an assortment of physical alignments and spiritual blockages. Most importantly, repelling monadic embodiment and preventing the repelling full nomadic embodiment and preventing the permanent seed activation in the higher heart complex from building out the crystal locus or crystal lotus and rose heart configurations. The outer major center is connected to the atlas bone or the C1, which is the very bone in the neck. It is a ring-like bone at the conjunction of where the skull and the neck meet. The atlas bone supports the weight of the skull, has facets that allow the head to move up and down, is responsible for the equilibrium management of the spine. The second neck bone is called the axis or C2, which is just below the atlas bone, which allows the head to move from side to side. Together, the atlas and the axis bone are referred to as upper cervical spine. The atlas and the axis are important in neurology because the brain stem extends down to the axis, right degree angle, 7-degree angle left, 40-degree angle right, masonry, spell, square, and a compass, which controls and coordinate virtually all of our body vital functions. If this important junction is blocked, implanted, or misaligned, it blocks the thalamus complex, the ninth chakra opening, which is the medulla spiritual gateway through which our monadic identity can embody the God body in you, and our conscious can gain access into higher dimensions. Most people on earth have been subjected to a variety of physical and emotional traumas, which have contributed to the lodging of a variety of implants and suppressor energy parasites to prevent the soul and the nomadic or God body embodiment. This is directly related to the Atlas C1 and Axis C2 dislocation at the back of the cranium and the spine, along with complications caused from unremoved crucifix implants. Jesus died on the cross for the sins, and they play that every Easter. He walking up to his death. In many years of research and successfully removing these implants from my own body, he said, the prophet, it is believed that the Atlas and Axis dislocation is a part of the weakness created in the body that allows energy parasites to become more easily embedded, blocking the process of natural spiritual embodiment. This is a general overlay observed as alien implants that has intentionally dislocated the Atlas and Axis, and the source appears to be connected to the hidden history of the Anunnaki genetic manipulation on Earth as a result of the Luciferian rebellion and the Michael Wars back in time. In some cases, people have success with etheric sessions work, or it may be helpful to undergo structural realignment through the physical treatment of an Atlas adjustment. This process of realignment is called the Atlas adjustment and is qualified as chiropractic practitioner uses as specific tool to put you back together. This tool is like a little hammer that points. They're just talking about that. We're going to keep going, though. We out of that. And we're talking about the skull. So y'all remember what the elder was saying. And this all playing into psyche attacks.
Those that understood the 4 rays of consciousness necessary to exist on the 4th dimension, which Earth was supposed to have been into millions of years ago, but got held back by humans. Now, as humans, who are we going to begin to die out, and the sons of God must come to the fore, so the angels can return. That awakened person is the one that will now go through changes like you have not seen, as he attempts to throw off the dross, the animal, and come into his own consciousness. Mankind came from the lords of different planets and was soulless and could not reproduce. I repeat the 3. Human, animal man, made from animal species both on this planet and other planets. God man, the sons of God, and also sometimes interpreting with mankind, a made person again by Lord gods on other planets, and mankind again by strictly the lords of other planets in this one. Obviously, you can begin to see what I'm inferring. This has nothing to do with the Creator, the prime causation, the cosmic universal logoi. This has to do with people who evolve up the ladder, and because of their knowledge of genetics, their knowledge of geography, their knowledge of astrology, their knowledge of astrophysics, when they come to a planet, you treat them like gods. All of the series that you see now, Babylon 5, Deep Space Nine, and all the rest of it, are trying to show you what really may exist in this system and in other systems, to let you come into what is now called the planetary brotherhood, to awaken from the idea that you are a lone important species. You are not. But now the Earth is becoming an important place, as we'll find out for numbers of reasons over this weekend, as we get deeper even tomorrow than we're going to go tonight. This is to awaken those who are not soulless, but have deep spiritual souls. One of the things that black people have found consistently is that in the face of adversity, they sing. In the face of adversity, they can laugh. In the face of adversity, they come together as a unit. And one thing seems to bother them. They know that they're supposed to worship something, They know that they're supposed to be spiritual entities, but they're not finding the results sometimes strong enough. They have found that in following religions fervently enough, really getting on fire with it, miracles do happen. But down deep, they're not satisfied because they still feel there ought to be a shortcut. And they know that something's there, but it's just not quite right, and daggone it frustrates me no end. How many of you have actually felt like that? Don't lie, if you haven't, you haven't. Most of you do. That's why the churches now, the people are going to the strongest word, the best choir, and the best place where they can also make money and meet good mates. And they're falling away from little churches that just can't make it anymore. Fundamentalism is separating from the advanced spiritual person. Again, I say this, and don't say I came here and talked about the churches and put them down. I'm not. Let each person go to any church they choose. It is their choosing. They will be responsible for their own souls if they have one. I'm saying that there's a difference between a spiritual person and a religious person. A spiritual person does not need a church, for the home and temple of God that they find their souls in is the church, and how they keep it clean and how they keep it out of ignorance and what they do with it shows their manifestation of the God's life. For the other, they need a religious fervor and constantly reminded because they do not have quite the soul that is arisen to the point where they can again manifest the Creator within them. So they constantly have to remind themselves as the herd come together to give themselves the strength to carry on. That is changing. That's why you're going to find the church being attacked like never before, and leaders in false churches falling like never before, and that's why the Falwells are all the rest of it, and you find them like little animals attacking each other, each one pulling each other down, and the congregation suffering from it. Because man must learn he does not have to go to a church, he is the church.
Disincarnates. The primordial event of disincarnate seen on Earth, and we like NRG Damon was saying CERN, is when the soul aspect was unable to separate from the body clearly or purely at the death of the body. There are souls that did not depart from the body with clarity and are disconnected for their higher spirit. The discarnated soul recognizes nothing more than material desires or attachments when living. I'll read that again. The disincarnate soul recognizes nothing more than material desires or attachments when living. Generally, in this person, nothing else appears to be true or real beyond their physical body and the earth plane. Sometimes they have been subjected to severe abuse, trauma, and addiction, while mind control implants of the satanic ritual abuse. This may create additional binding to satanic forces and aliens or Orion, of which they are unaware of and do not know how to free themselves. When a person in his life is attached to their negative ego, when a person in life is attached to their negative ego, and all they believe is power of the material plane, the remnants of their soul may stay attached roaming the earth. People that have habitual addictions, especially hate and fear, will be clouded and confused, unable to separate from the body clearly. If the person was very negative and became merged with demonic forces, at death, the conscience of the demonic force would come to meet that soul. They would be led by the same demonic conscience to locate or realm. I'll read that again. It will be led by that same demonic consciousness to a location or realm. This will not feel foreign to them, as they have expressed the same consciousness in life. So they, it's like damn, you won't even know, because you can't separate it. So it will appear as something familiar to them, not grotesque. In other cases, they may be terrified or flee, continuing to roam the earth. This can be considered soul fragments, aspects, or soul fragments. This could be okay. This can be considered soul fragments, aspects, or an impure soul that becomes disincarnated. Sometimes the soul energy will prevent itself in the earthly forces, trapping them in one area of the earth. The soul may be condemned to roam graves, cemeteries, buildings, and other locations. This is another important reason to pray for others in pain, alive and dead. And here we are smoking too. This helps them purify and re-cleanse. We can always pray to God on others' behalf for their reconnection to God, and for general release of pain and suffering. Those of us that are active and connecting our soul and spirit conscious to bring our conscious to spiritual matters are able to greatly help others that did not get spiritual clearly in life, which is going on now. We pray to God we can help them to become connected to God's spirit, which would go find them on behalf of our heartfelt prayers. Negative disincarnates, people that depart from the physical plane without any semblance of developing heart-based qualities, or do not have a light body, or have not made spiritual connections with their soul, but they live on earth with extremely selfish, negative perspectives of life based only on material realm, are generally at death out of their body, and are brought under the hierarchy of control of negative disincarnates or negative entities, shadow walkers and spirits, also called imposter spirits or fallen angelic angels or angels. Too much left, too much right. Go to the center, get it right tonight. Higher level negative energy control, lower level negative energy in the afterlife. I'm gonna say that again. Higher level negative energy control, lower level negative energies in the afterlife. This is a form of conscious traps that are set in the timeline of that person to prepare them for servitude in the afterlife. As many disincarnates are even not even aware that they are being controlled, living, or passed on, they are set up to be put in servitude to dark forces when their spirit body fragments or vibrates to exist in the final dimension. So if you die like that on a low vibration, they say you go to hell, you just, you don't want to die in a low vibration. And when we get older, we try to get it right, but the situation already been take place, and it takes too much energy. So you just gotta pray. Do it now, not later. Let the elder talk so I can get me some more orange juice. I got y'all there. We're gonna write
The temple of the living God is not just a folklore or a little thing that is said. The skull that you have, when properly understood, is a temple. It is so full of potential power and glandular interest there that the best way that the ancients could show it was to build a pyramid and say that that is the skull of man, and then show him the difference between the Sphinx and the others that walk the life. Why do you think that when Napoleon and the Grenadiers came out onto the Giza Plateau and they saw the Sphinx looking negroid in all of its glory, they went crazy and blew the nose off by sending 19 shot rounds into the nose and then coming back and climbing it and pickaxing at the nose, and now they act like they don't know what the Sphinx used to look like. Why they don't, I don't know. They drew pictures of it and they saw what it looked like. It was a negroid looking person looking outward, eastward. And it showed again that in front of this big pyramid, they put this skull and this animal. 3 of the secrets of this pyramid, and there's 7 secrets of the pyramid. 3 of them is that the head of the man on the Sphinx and the body of the animal simply shows that, if you notice, there's wings on the Sphinx, there's scales on the Sphinx, there was a tail on the Sphinx, there were claws and hooves. It shows that everything that moved, crawled, or flew on Earth was subjugated or was dominated by the chief creature of Earth, the Son of God, the man's head. But everything on that man's body of the Sphinx needs those other things to survive, until which time its consciousness rises enough and can outgrow them. It can eat fish. It can eat anything that moves and crawls, snails and everything else. It can breathe in air and live very well on that air, if you would. I appreciate that very much. And live on that air, if you would. It can do more things by adapting under different vibrations. It can consume everything on Earth and live on it, even to the herbs and the berries, if it goes up that far. Once this is understood, then you understand again that it was that the animal portion of man was located in what is called the primal urge, the lower chakra, the animal brain, which is located just below the navel and connected to one of the units of the spine. Now, what am I talking about? The animal brain. You've only got one brain, It's got a different lobe. There's two hemispheres, and we all have studied it. That's not the only brain you have at all. What they say is wherever you have neurons, you have the capability of thinking and relaying energy. Neuron centers in the brain are connected to what they call glia cells. Glia cells are connected to what they call axons. Axons are connected to dendrites, and dendrite stems are like conjunction boxes, or what they want to call the junction boxes for electricity. They run from one neuron center to the other. All that simply means is you have a place, like a computer, that can think and process thoughts. Then it has a coaxial cable that gives energy. Depending on what kind of energy comes through there, the computer generates more, the neuron center can generate more thought. Then, based on how many programs you have in that neuron center, how many programs you have for the computer can be smarter or dumber. And then once it kicks in, it's joined, just like with the cable, to other computers or other neuron centers. So the whole key is this. The neuron, wherever it is found, is capable of generating or processing thought. That's all you have to know. And if you doubt me, go look up in your physiology books tonight, come out tomorrow, and we'll talk about it. If you understand and agree with me, let us move on. Anywhere you have a neuron that is linked to other neurons or to the spine or to nerve centers, that means that neuron can function. What is the neuron supposed to do? Generate and process thoughts, coming and going. You have a collection of neurons up and down your spine, and in certain pockets throughout the body, one of which is what is called the solar plexus. And just a little bit below it, above the spleen and above the navel, you will have a neuron center. That, I claim, is your animal brain location. That is why in the Oriental philosophy, in the Yoruba philosophy, even amongst the ancient Zulus, concentration upon the solar plexus with energies coming in either from the moon or the sun will turn a person more like into an animal than before. You can act like an animal and still be human because you are an animal person. Most of your ideas of survival, hunger, fear, fighting come generated from that selection of neurons at the solar plexus. They do not come from that up here in the skull. In fact, you will find when you get really uptight, what does it say? My stomach got it.
A lot of people using their stomach and think instead of their mind, and they say the person only used 30% half the time.
I couldn't talk. I just felt pain here, and I was all uptight. That is your animal brain talking, taking over to fight or flight.
To actually create and accept psyche attacks.
Fear or love, to hate or to detest. These are all animal passions, and that's why they call them. These are the emotional hubs. They say that we use less than 1% of our brain. I sometimes even question that amount.
There are hierarchies of negative disincarnates or negative spirits in phantom or hell realms that use their spiritual energies of their consciousness to be directed for the sole purpose of feeding satanic or demonic Baphomet, non-sex energies and entities, many times with the explicit intention of gathering negative energies towards harming a person or harming humanity in general. Many times many times this harms is generated in order to claim that the person at the death process. Okay. Many times this harm is generated in order to claim that person at the death process. The extent of harm they are capable to direct to a person or humanity is relative to their black force spiritual strength. I'll say it again. The extent, so you only as powerful. Just likely your own worst nightmare when you spiritual, you fight yourself like the Matrix, you fight yourself. So if you want to create a ruthless nightmare and you spiritual, that we go. We're going to keep going, though, fall out of place and out of pocket. The extent of harm they are capable to direct to a person or humanity is relative to their black force spiritual strength. The underworld or phantom. Jesus with sandals on or Jesus with Timbs. Can't fight with sandals on. Or they go in that dark closet and get them Timbs. Underworld or phantom dimensions from which they exist. That life force which has been accumulated from the binding or killing of the weaker group of entities or souls. Negative spirits, as it is their nature, will reveal themselves to behave in all ways that are parasitic, vampiric, or vampirism, manipulators, and thieves. They deceive and steal in order to court, attach, and gain energy from their host or target. Their ability to parasite is, and control the minds, emotions, souls, and physical bodies of human beings is heavily dependent on whether their target is spiritually strong and developed, and on how pure or energetically balanced their spiritual light body has been built to communicate with higher self and God forces. A strong, balanced, and clear aura or spiritual energy field is the ultimate protection from these dark force spirit attacks or from these dark force attacks. This is why the light worker, starseed, or indigo is important to understand that the first place these negative spirits will attack or manipulate is to interfere with your personal spiritual practice and spiritual devotion. So when you say you seeing these entities and you saying you having experiences with these entities, and while other people don't have the experiences with these entities, that make you want to say, I don't want to say nothing because people are going to think I'm crazy. Or then Moses had to take Aaron to the Pharaoh because Aaron had to speak for him. Moses knew the law, but he couldn't articulate that law. So the reason these entities is messing with you because you are spiritual. And then they bring your ass crazy before you can articulate the situation. By the time you can articulate the situation, you about 170 years old. Yeah, no, we're gonna get it right now. So you are indigo or starseed. That's why you're highly spiritual. So they gonna fuck with you. We're gonna make sure they get it right tonight. Let's go. Okay. They would try to interfere with all means of directional spiritual communication with high. I'm gonna do that again. They would try to interfere with all means of direct spiritual Akasha Records, what we going through now with the black screen. Somebody might be calling your phone or accident outside right now. Just keep going or get on the replay. All means of direct spiritual communication with higher self. Satanic spirits are capable to reverse connections in a neurology to brain receivers to accept pain, abuse, distortion as familiar and acceptable energies, toxic relationships. These dark forces will do anything they can to thwart, deceive, and stop the human from accessing any kind of spiritual practice, which increases their personal light source, builds their light body, teaches personal sovereignty, and opens direct communication with one's higher self, avatar, Christos, God body self, the eternal light of God forces, and all grid workers and those of the earth to represent and support the God body, situation in reclamation, support humanitarian issues and God forces will be targeted by high-level sorcery and black magicians in order to stop their personal group spiritual missions. This is why in every case, we must never give up our spiritual practices, dedicate service to God as STO service to others instead of STS service to selves. But they got the Cadillac STS, but they're going to come out with the STO or defer our authority to any negative spirit, archonic deception strategy, or black magician. Now, I know this Flightball Soul Group have a lot of situations going on now. And I remember the old Jewish dude that got on the bus and told me, well, Jewish and as a relentless, it told me never give up. So now we understand that. I'm going to keep reading, then we're going to go back. I ain't going to read like that. No. Hold on. I got y'all. We're gonna get it over with it.
The reason why we don't is because we are usually ruled by the animal body and animal brain, which has got so used to dominating man that now man is more animal in many cases than, what can I say, some of the animals. Some of the animals will not kill in the way man will now kill, or human will kill.
You seen FBG,
Animals in general will fight to a point where one gives up, turns belly up, and the animal growls, postures, and walks away. Man will blow you away. Human will blow you away now for no reason at all. We have become more animals. And therefore, those sections of our neuron centers work better than the one up here. So much here, this thing up here has nothing to do with getting rusty.
Too much of penile chakra.
It gets a lot of mucus around it. Its ends burn out and won't fire correctly. You begin to really try to use it to get a headache. You use it even more, you begin to get boils and breakouts because the energy has to drive out the pus and stuff, that is coagulating machinery. We don't use it.
Alkaline water, PhD,
And there's been a lot of interest to
pH
stop
10.
us from using it, especially those of the sons of God
10.0.
and their offspring.
Alkaline water.
Why?
Get you right.
Because mankind and human was
10
taught by
pH
mankind that if ever the sons of God would awaken to the power of using the upper brain power, they would become so devastating, so frighteningly auspicious, that everything on earth would tremble at the power of this latent God and giant now asleep.
Lord disincarnates that may also be considered ghost entities or earthbound spirits that are human from another timeline, are the most common spirit attachments for most people, and they are usually generated from the person's ancestral line and ancestral history. Sometimes the ancestor spirit is under control and servitude of fallen angels or black magicians and is being forced to cause negative or negativity into the lives of their descendants. Demons will use that person's own ancestries to create harm, or that ancestor has digressed into a demonic state from his or her own negative choice that harm many other people, living or passed on. Which y'all listen to this. The main reason a person such as an ancestor has become a negative spirit or demon is that their conscience was made up of primary negative qualities and negative vibrations at the time of their death from this world. Thus, they are absorbed into a demonic stream. For this, many other reasons, it is important to apply spiritual housekeeping, and energetic clearing on behalf of your ancestors, as this issue of genetic path cutting for our ancestors, the mother and father lineages, will show up repeatedly throughout the ascension process. This relates to the individual development of spiritual strength and spiritual devotion in order to deflect and neutralize these kinds of psyche attacks live in this world but not of this world. Breathe. Negative energies, curses, or negative forms, or repel the lower hierarchy of negative spirits that are sent to harass and weaken that person when they are targeted. The primary way that negative spirits gather strong amounts of black forces that they use to fuel their black magic directed to harm people is through influencing archon deception behaviors, Cardi B and Megan Stallion, of producing self-hatred and self-abuse, and with even more harmful methods of blood sacrifice, satanic ritual abuse, which is the intended torture, binding, raping, and killing of another. They use forms of torturous abuse to capture aspects of the soul into negative spiritual attachments and binding of servitude for the purpose of gaining more black force strength in order to project or cast black magic to have control over others. Black magicians exist as living entities and disincarnates on other dimensional planes. They are human and non-human, and they desire to exert complete control over others and ultimately do completely enslave of other realms of beings. These realms of which they attempt to enslave or bind through various means is not only human, it exists in every realm, such as in the elemental, animal, and the natural kingdom of the earth. Hold on. We're gonna get that out. We're gonna close it out with that one. I got you. Hold on.
That's why they've never told you the proper use of the brain, and they will tell you again also that the pineal gland is an atrophied, non-usable tissue and organ that used to function but now has no bearing. That's another one of the biggest lies ever told. The pineal gland generates melanin and melatonin. It works best between the hours of 11 at night and 2 in the morning, when most of you should be asleep or in total darkness. It does not like light during the time it is regenerating. And that is also when most of the sons of God will find that 3 days out of the month, or either in the evening or daytime, you have to find out whether you are a solar being or a moon frequency being. I know you don't know what I mean yet. Keep coming and we'll talk. That means at that time, the hole at the roof of your mouth will begin to let out air. It will begin to generate a little bubbling sound. Some of us have not even understood when this happens. It usually has a pattern, and as you become more and more conscious of it and do things to increase it, it will open up more and more. How many of you, now don't lie about it, share with me, I'd like to see again the consciousness here. Men, because they say women, you don't have this privilege or this curse, whichever, your day is tomorrow. Men have found that sometimes they seem to feel air or bubbling at the roof of their mouth in the area I just had you to try your tongue. How many have noticed it sometimes active, but you never knew when it was? Just 2, 3, 4. Some of you are thinking about it. And you all said, boy, what was that? It sounded like a little bubbling sound. Sometimes it might even go on for 30 seconds, which is very frightening. You say, what the heck was that? That is our king's chamber and the grand gallery leading to that, sorry about that, leading to that passageway, trying to again work, trying to energize itself. Something you did kicked it in a little bit. I state through meditation, I state through honoring the pineal gland by sleeping during those hours. You don't even have to sleep much past that if you can get good sleep during that time. It will increase the degree and vibration of the melatonin that you have in your body, increase your psychic power, so-called, your sense of ESP, and your health will increase. Once more, as when the sons of God came here and committed the atrocity that lowered the potential of man, and yet it was a blessing because it gave a seed and a spark to mankind that he could never have had otherwise. So it was both a curse and a benefit. When they came here, our planet was surrounded by a magnetic field. That magnetic field cloaked out gamma rays and other what they call cosmic rays from coming into our planet and disrupting the life progression that was on the surface of our planet. These same Lord gods then came and set up an electrical field inside that magnetic field, causing everything to slow down. Now they refer to it as Earth's electromagnetic field, or simply the Van Allen radiation belt. It is full of negative radiation, just like an atomic bomb or Chernobyl was full of negative radiation, which is harmful to grazing consciousness, to getting in the higher vibrations once more into our Earth. It was put up there as a frequency barrier by purpose by Lord God, who for a time sought to dominate this planet and tried to misuse again the seed of the angels who had committed adultery here, but also had given a soul a chance to migrate and progress here in a form that normally was not used.
Negative disincarnates direct harm and negative entities to accomplish their goals through a dark hierarchy of power that is organized like the mafia. Because on Earth, humans have been mind controlled to feel that they are crazy and to believe in such things as negative spirits. And few people have developed their higher sensory perception in order to perceive them. The dark entities undergo unnoticed and unchallenged. Consent and dedicated spiritual practice is the only way to protect oneself from the many dark forces that exist in the spirit worlds. Some of these dark force hierarchies of negative spirits include the most common of discarnates, ghosts, demons, fallen angels or angelica, naga spirits, goblins, golems, shadow creatures, witches or warlocks, and sorcerers or black magicians. Black magicians or sorcerer level use shape-shifting and conjuring methods in order to form any kind of dark entity which is formed from black force substance in order to harass double forces in the environment. Or can I read that again? Because I don't know that right. Sorcerer levels use shape-shifting and conjuring methods in order to form any kind of dark entity which is formed from the black force substance in order to harness double forces in the environment. Chicago. These are dark. These are the dark masters, are the black gurus of the realm they inhabit. Many are hardcore terrorists that work diligently to spread war, killing, and hate in humanity. Chicago. Essentially, they gather and steal energy and power from all living things in order to wield great control through terrorism. These dark forces of America impact the general humane population in vast amounts, especially now during the ascension cycle, as our ascending planet undergoes the war over conscience that impacts all living things. Black magicians and sorcerer types can shapeshift to take many forms depending on what their objective may be. Lower negative spirits tend to take generic forms. that may make up collective of mind of humanity, it is easier to steal a form that is believed in many people than to create a lesser form or a totally new form. As an example, many astro-negative spirits can easily project Jesus, Mary, angels, or other well-known religious icons to the minds of the people. Many of them are tricksters, and their true nature is to trick, deceive, and manipulate in order to create harm and confusion, which pleases their dark masters. Obsession, intense desires, and cravings. And then we keep going in. Yeah.
Let me simply break it down by saying this. For close to 5 million years, the sons of God have degenerated on this planet. Their souls have come and gone in bodies, never opening up to what and who they really were. Only from time to time getting a little light into what they potentially were supposed to be. Once they were not able to call on directly the universal cosmic creator, they had to then accept false gods and false teachings by mankind who was put upon the earth later on by others to keep this Son of God in control. From greatness and grandeur, having the bloodline of the angels, they also had the higher frequency body potential of the angels. But now it was locked in an animal body and could only escape between the hours of 11 and 2 in the morning, when the pineal gland could kick in and they could come out of these false bodies and become what they really were. That's why people who dream in black and white are on the verge of ascending. People who dream in color and remember the dreams and have dreams that come in threes are prophets. And as it moves up again, you can begin to awaken and come outside of your body, look down upon your body and see that you are more than the body, because you never were human. You were simply encased in human and locked in by the frequency barrier, and you didn't know who you were.
Negative disincarnates and the array of dark spirits in the environment are many times responsible for extremely amplified obsessions, dark depressions, or addictive thoughts that produce intense desires, craving, or addictions. These issues can also be source problems that are genetic weaknesses that are generated as psychological or physical problems. Like I said in Tupac Shakur, the way they got to her was they knew her mother, they checked her genes, and she had a addictive nature, so they introduced cocaine to her and sent her off. Yeah, while he was born in nature. But these weaknesses will also be exploited in the energetic realms by dark forces. Intense desires, obsessions, or addictions are energetic weaknesses that will make it easy for dark forces to gain control over their victim. When being harassed by negative spirits, the person will experience extreme levels of energetic density, heaviness, gloom, and doom, depression, sadness, addiction. And this may lead to hearing voices and strange noises, smelling odd or unpleasant odors, and finally, synchronization symptoms and other mental disturbances. See, when I hear funny smells, bro, it's my dog farting, so they don't even come around here. The most common forms of manifesting obsessions into addictions is with the intent to gain control over that person, mind, and the body by amplifying the personal weakness that the person has not resolved, healed, or cleared. Yeah, y'all know that good dick, as a woman says she can't get that. Let me quit playing it. Once the dark. Mom, sorry, man. I love you, man. I love you, man. Man, it's late. You might be asleep, man. Once the dark forces has control over the person's mind and body, it can access the soul or spiritual forces. At this point, binding attachments, artifacts like satanic enigma are placed upon that person's energy field, and possessions are made possible. Negative spirits and black magicians operate the black substance realm, also the lunar forces, and will attempt to shift a person that is holding light energy in their light body to be drained off their light source, sucking the soul, and to become black force generators. As a human becomes a black force generator when they are consumed inside by black forces, this is manifested as harm, hatred, and many different negative emotional states. As a result of sexual misery and victimizer, mind control programming, many people are harassed with a variety of addictions, such as commonly producing intentional sexual desires. Yeah, niggas are going through that now. Not me, but niggas. In order to pervert and steal their sexual energies while exploiting their emotions into feeling guilt or shame. After he done spent all his money and he leaving the strip club back home to his wife. Intense sexual thoughts are commonly used to disrupt or interfere with the development of purity and dedication in spiritual practices. I can hear somebody laughing their ass off. God is real. As lustful desires block the spiritual seeker's path from gaining higher access levels to the God force, lower sexual energies must be channeled upward and expressed in positive, creative, and loving ways through the heart. If they remain stuck as addictions in the sacral center or chakra, they can be a source of negative spirit attachment and servitude. If a person is really weakened in holding appropriate sexual boundaries, has low self-respect, too much fabbing, it's not in control of their personal sexual energies, such as a person that has been raped, abused, or molested as a child. Astral rape and manipulation of sexual energy from negative spirits may continue into the adulthood. We're gonna pray for people. That's what we're gonna do, period. Leave you alone. And try that, y'all. Just get up and pray for the world. As you pray for your friends, try praying for the world. Watch the return on that. All right, then we're gonna end that in the spiritual warfare. Don't let y'all know how it goes. We're going back to the master. It was almost
trapped on a planet who you didn't even come from, or only here for a lesson. The lesson has got to go on and on and on infinitum. Well, even the planet is getting tired of that now and is changing the frequency. What we are about the business now is awakening. As you watch the stars, you will see, and if some of you are very much into celestial mechanics, into astrology or astronomy, you will find that the constellations are not in the proximity that they were even back in 1975. They've been displaced. You will find that due to what is called the progression of the equinoxes, even the signs by which you think you were born under no longer are the signs that rule you. They are not your natal ruling signs because they have now changed 30 degrees. Time and frequencies are speeding up. Some of you should have noticed that the days are flying by. The time seems to just slip by. That's for you who are matching vibrations. You become quickened, sometimes agitated, sometimes searching for what you don't even know you're searching for, but you know something is changing, while other soulless creatures say time is still the same. It is not the same. Time is frequencying upward. It's speeding up. You must also speed up, and to do so, you must awaken those glands that can cause your body to keep up with your soul.
Psyche attack,
and it means you will be mutating. Don't become frightened of mutation. Sometimes if everybody mutates, nobody notices. The first mutation will be of the soul progression, and your neuron centers will begin to clean up their act. That's why head colds will be the rule. That's why asthma will be the rule. Asthmatic conditions will be the rule as you try to clean off the mucus and burn it up. The more you use your brain, the faster it will be burned up. And the more you get the headaches, and the headaches will go away because you're finding again the frequency like you're supposed to. For those who can't, they will get sick of head diseases and die. For those who can't and are in the body, they'll get attacked by body diseases and die. Disease only means one thing: imbalance, out of order. To hold a charge and not be able to use that charge will cause that charge to burn up the wires, to burn up the connections. This is why you're moved now to do things probably you hadn't wanted to do before. Certain health foods, certain health drinks, herbals. You all wanted to go into the marijuana and stuff before because you know there was something that you could activate. And so rather than do it the hard way, you say, I'm going to just trip out real quick. Not understanding that in a lowered frequency, when you do that, you run into lower vibrations, which also are called to a planet with that, and into all kind of trouble, losing your mortal souls. We've all talked about that, but we didn't understand what we were saying. But to a clear head, who through the use of consciousness-raising drugs, now I'm not talking about now the street drugs, I'm not talking about barbiturates and influence and all this kind of thing. I'm talking about the wushis and the fotis and the ginsings and the things that can tremendously raise your vibrational rate. The pineal gland then begins to activate and not die up and dry up. It activates. One of the reasons why prostate trouble is on the increase in most males is because the prostate gland, which was simply part of the almost dried up womb of the ancient woman part of man, must reflect from the pineal and the orchiid gland to come into full bloom to produce the kind of seed that can bring forth the gods This is why I'm going to call in the children lecture at the end of this one tonight. We always think of children as only coming through a woman. The seed of man activates the woman, and therefore that seed must be strong to call forth the right kind of soul at this time. As this prostate gland dries up because it cannot get reflected energy from the orchic gland, how many even know, because I don't say it unless you do, because if I call it and ask you where it is, where the orchic gland is. If someone does, please share it. Do you know where the orchic gland actually is? How many of you have even heard of the orchic gland as being part of the male glandular system? And they don't want you to know.
Spiritual warfare is the battle between light that exists that exists in the truth versus the darkness that exists in the lie. An accurate assessment of reality is based upon knowing and perceiving truth, which increases the light. It is also in seeing rightly the way things are being truly represented, shit for what it is. It is what it is, instead of tricking yourself. Through compassionate witnessing, when we recognize the honest truth in the matter, no matter how unpleasant that truth may be, by seeing it as it is, we are spreading the truth spirit and amplifying the light of higher consciousness around us. In this way, we bring the light to the dark by seeing the honest truth and eliminating the shadows by exposing them to light. The promoting and speaking of lies to manipulate others qualifies as spiritual abuse and will gradually be ruined and ultimately destroyed by any kind of relationship, as well as distorted the perception of reality, destroying clearly and spiritual connections. When people lie, they distort the energy field both at the individual level and collectively. They distort the reality in those people who believe the lie they have been told and thus continue to influence false reality around them. Lying and spiritual abuse directly impacts the mind of how a person thinks by trying to manipulate others into believing their lies. They are spreading darkness and therefore holding their thought form captive in a web of deception and distorted verses of false reality. The Orion have used artificial intelligence technology to build distorted realities based upon lies they have spread. When they are caught up into believing these lies as truth, when the darkness of the lies fills our conscious body, it ushers us into AI timelines, artificial timelines of distorted reality. And they said they roll out AI technology in Chicago. Most people that are compulsive and habitual liars tend to have an assortment of addiction problems. Addictions to things in the material world, negative ego thought forms, or to actual drugs or alcohol. Addiction allows darkness to flood into the light body, which invites parasite entities to access their physical body through the chemical doorway that is generated, the alternate state of consciousness brought about by taking a drug substance. Access their physical body through a chemical doorway that is generated in the altered state of consciousness that's brought about by taking a drug substance. King Von. Man, he was just sitting in the car. He was high as hell. He had a pill sitting in the car. He didn't know he was fighting a demon. He just sat there and he got up anyway. And then dude walked up and said, man, there go Rondo right there. And then King Von jumped up saying, Mickey, they slipped King Von the slain. Mickey, they slipped Fred Hampton. If the lying and spreading of darkness continue to build a web of deception in a distorted reality, the darkness encroaches upon the soul light, producing internal harm and sequential fracturing. PTSD situations, bullshit happening. Soul fracturing lead to parasitic entities, spirit attachments, and demonic possession that attaches into the light body and then use the body for their own purpose. This harm to the light body will drastically impact the person spiritually. It interferes with the process of how they connect and relate themselves, others, and God, producing sensations of despair, misery, and disconnection from life. The promotion of lies and false beliefs generated a mass of confusion and stress that derails us from our higher expression and purpose, which ultimately is to fulfill a productive, content, and joyful life. It is possible to live our spiritual purpose through service to others, even when we engage or are engaged in spiritual warfare and living on a prison planet undergoing liberation. We're almost there, y'all. We're almost out the door.
That is like a little sun right near the prostate. it reflects energy from the pineal gland by way of the spinal cord, and then flashes. And as it flashes, it increases the seminal fluid energy, which then can house a new type of a sperm cell, which then, when that sperm cell is released or when it is built up, activates the higher glands of man. But it must reflect the light from the pineal. In most cases, the pineal was already atrophied or on its way out. For a soulless mankind, it profits now the knell of the death bell. For it means that if our planet can take in new energy, and if the electromagnetic field or frequency barrier can be altered so that higher frequencies can come in, and that pineal gland kicks in, then you will be once again in tune with your planet. And mankind, having no soul, having only the ability to report to the Lord God Master, will go crazy and begin to dysfunction and do crazy things.
What you see happening now. Spiritual battle during ascension cycle. There is a battle between the forces of darkness, light for the control of this planet and human consciousness, as well as control over the use of the human body, DNA. Recently, spiritual warfare has escalated in the worldwide, and those awakened people that are connected to the planetary conscious body are able to feel the intense pressure we are undergoing as this battle rages in the interdimensional planes. And at the moment, hidden from mainstream media and most people's awareness to realize that the events transpiring in the world involves a massive war over controlling the conscience of this planet. The players are human and non-human, and involve the hierarchy of the control Illuminati that extends way beyond the planetary control mechanism of the power elite. As we provide dispensations that allow us to embody divine energy in the physical form, which we're going through now as God's PTV, and move the planetary awareness towards the higher light and higher consciousness in the next harmonic universe, the survival or force of that darkness and its artificial intelligent control network on this planet is threatened. Most of these artificial intelligence software systems installed in the planetary conscious body explicitly rely on the matter fields of vibrating at certain parameters of low vibratory frequency in order to maintain their invisibility within the human visible light spectrum. As these lower dimensions roll up into the next harmonic scale, these dark forces, their agendas such as the mainstreaming of Satanism, which is Nas X, the bullshit ass shoes, become much more visible and clear to the people of the earth who are starting to see the clear evidence of crime against humanity. That's why, what's the name? The baby man, crime against humanity. That's a crime against humanity, man. My baby's watching that. They up there naked kissing. Man, I'm poor and human children. Those in position of power have been put there explicitly because of their consent and content and willingness to carry out the crimes against humanity on behalf of the negative alien agenda, in exchange for money, resources, power, temporary life extensions, immortality, and control over the rest of the people. Queen Elizabeth been living a long time. Shit. Some have been told they will be escorted to safety onto other planets when and if disclosure events happen on a mass scale. Yeah. What's his name? The guy that got the shipping company. So I can't forget that name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Amazon.com. That shit right there. During this time of shifting to higher consciousness realms of the next harmonic universe and the resulting need to create new paragrams or paragrams that support the recognition of values for all human beings and for life itself. There are a few multidimensional challenges for humans that are taking a conscious, proactive, and leading role in their own evolution and evolution of this planet. These challenges come in many forms, including psyche attacks, artificial intelligence trackers, negative implant tags, dark entities that direct interference in order to diminish the quality of our energetic resources, physical vitality, and optimum functioning by harvesting and utilizing our perception resources, and suppressing our ability to perceive greater realities of truth and live our maximum soul potential of experiencing spiritual fulfillment, sovereignty, and freedom on the earth plane. During the evolutionary process of one's awakening and remembrance of the soul blueprint and contracts, the more conscious and ascended beings take back their sovereignty and live in accordance with the laws of the Creator rather than man-made laws, thereby transcending dark tyranny and existing in alignment to the high frequency of living light. As a result of living in the light, these humans through their actions, influence and guide others to the right, light, and truth, thereby exponentially increasing their power of light and truth in this world. Man over matter be in this world, but not of this world, and diminishing the power of tyrannical control that the darkness uses to keep people in bondage and servitude. Man, I ain't playing with y'all. We're going to preach tonight.
Human,
You can
who is
sweep,
part
you
of
can clean
both,
up, you can do whatever.
will
Just push
begin
play.
to
Listen,
question
you ain't got to watch.
and try to follow its higher source, and the whole thing will lead to tremendous wars or tremendous conflagrations. The war will last no time if the sons of God can awaken to who they are. Because once they get in tune with the planetary head, the planet will do whatever they as a unit ask for. That is what some of the Yoruba people understood, what the magicians understand, and in a small way try once more to get in frequency with the slower heavens just above where they live or on their continent, or the elemental kingdom can obey. It was meant that the sons of God, being of the seed of angels, didn't have to even do that. They could summon, they could call forth, they could put aside. But before any of that could be done, they had to first come into the consciousness and frequency of who they were. Again, I kind of repeat what I said when I was here before. This summer, you will hear, and starting this summer, probably for the next 3 years, about the sunspot activity being on the increase.
Those awakening to remember themselves as multidimensional light beings and becoming part of the collective starseed created network on this planet tend to be the target for these dark forces and their technologies, such as methods used for electromagnetic harassment or electronic harassment. The energy of the highly conscious human being created frequency signal that activates the radar screen of awareness at the center of the control for dark consciousness. Once the radar screen of darkness take place a tag. I'm gonna read that again. Once the radar screen of darkness, the darkness place a tag, artifact, attachment cord on the enlightened being to track them and determine if they are a threat to the survival of the ego predator mind or the type of self-awareness that the darkness represents as a conscious. This is why half you niggas can't get on. You gotta kill somebody before you get on now. You don't play around. And no more Lupe for Yaskos. The forces of dark include many broad streams of sentient beings that are trapped in planetary consciousness body that exist as spiritual forces that are locked into time and matter, unable to evolve until humanity stops feeding them. It is important to understand that the forces of Satanism are not intellectual forces as they claim by the atheists behind the Church of Satan, but encompass a mass hierarchy of darkly primitive conscious beings. Many of these forces can be described as energetic signals. They directly connect them with fallen angels, watchers, such as Baphomet or Leviathan fields. These collective satanic forces make up collective conscious streams that they can then be connected to demonic bodies or generate to create more groupings of satanic hierarchy on the earth. These forces can hop into a human vessel that is unaware, weakened, and mind controlled by the consent of the satanic vibration. These satanic beings exist on all different levels of darkness and depravity. However, they operate together as a collective conscious force that is directed by off-planet entities that are higher and more powerful in satanic chain of command. Satanic forces are not sovereign forces or entities. They are parasitic and need human energy to exist. They can appear human and non-human as negative alien bodies, and they are trapped in the matter fields and low densities, unable to evolve beyond the bondage and servitude to the earth plane, and are slave to those dark forces that are higher on the food chain. Victor, hold on, we got y'all. We walking our way up out the door now. I got y'all. We walking out slow.
You'll begin to hear more again about solar activity, prominences, all types of energy from the sun that will be very harmful. You'll hear about ultraviolet light burning tissue and melanomas and affecting the blood and the skin of people on earth. For the sons of God who have an active pineal, that will be a day of blessing, for it will not affect you. You will not be burned, you will simply darken, and the melanin growing, it's almost like a vicious cycle to make you more and more powerful. As they get cancers of the skin and glands, you will get glands beginning to awaken and throwing out the frequencies that are not good and reconnecting the DNA molecules that were separated. For at one time we had 12 strands of DNA, now we have 2. How could we function as an advanced God or being when we don't even have the right hookup? We can't go to 220. We've got to stay at 110, 120. That will activate the glands to begin to work on the molecules of the cells, and the cell's DNA will begin to unite. What they call junk DNA is not junk DNA. It is where it all got blasted apart, and now, like an amoeba, it will be coming together again, and each cell in your body, blueprint, will begin to vibrate faster as you become once what you were, the true sons of the God.
Work over conscious. Those of us committed to the law of one to promote sovereignty and freedom for the planet and humanity have more grid and energetic support than we have ever had. If we have possessed, implant, or entity harassment, the spiritual deliverance techniques should offer relief with some level of commitment to the process. Cleaning your soul, cleaning your house, be true to yourself. Like we said in Hood X Lick, Wading. We must remember we have to return to this earth to master ourselves and master the fallen energetic entities and the negative energies here. This requires we learn exactly how these entities think, magicians think, what their strategies are. That's why I go so hard with it. I don't mean to talk about the dark stuff, but I try to give y'all the blueprint to it, because if you're not aware of it, they're going to have fun. Where they came from and how they infiltrate this planet. We are in a world of a consciousness that requires we master the psycho-spiritual warfare being directed towards humanity. In many cases, this will require we directly experience alien. In many cases, this will require we directly experience alien implants, entities, psychic attacks, and forms of alien aggression. We cannot heal the conscience of our planet until we understand exactly how it became corrupt with the reptilian virus and synthetic alien machinery. Please have patience with this process. God is here. Portal opening and black holes. We're going to walk on out of here. Y'all need to know. Thank you.
For man
Thank you.
to be man at this time, man must understand his feminine counterpart that is within him, his animal counterpart that is within him, the angel and God counterpart that is within him, and his own soul blueprint, which is him. That's why you'll find people undergoing hypnosis, past life recall, flashbacks of things and intuitively that they didn't know happened, but they'll begin to see their past lives come forth. People that they meet that they'll be drawn to and they don't know why. Places that they'll go and they'll go to and they don't know why. But each time you'll find that there's a benefit that comes when you follow that mind, because it will be something of an experience that will help to reawaken you. You must remember who you were. You must work with the DNAs in order for the DNAs to begin to entwine together. We speak of the tetragrammaton, which of course Jewish people cannot affirm. They will not say the name Yahweh. They will not say Yahweh. They will not say any of those things because they were not the chosen for this energy. They were usurpers and interpreters of the books of magic without the soul to contend with them.
Portals opening and black holes. Since made those portals open, we have undergone sequel events that have radically shifted the universal geometric structure. This is the agriculture likened to celestial bodies, constellations, and stars with our planet. Transmissions are activated the planetary body to communicate with the intelligent matrix of the Canis Major constellation and the Sirius star system. This activated previously dormant and corrupted communication links and ley lines networks into the planetary body. These new links cannot be conservative by alien machinery or their synthetic timelines. Consumptive too. These triad communication networks are analogous to dropping a new intergalactic wireless internet hookup from Cyrus B and the massive Cyrus Sun into the planetary body. Comcast. The main axis of this network was placed in the 33rd North Parallel Line, 33-degree masonry. The main axis of this network was placed in the 33rd North Parallel Line and is intended as a support for star seeds that work the grids in service of the cosmic sovereign law. Additionally, this network supports progress with the alien invasion problem located in the equator line of the planet, with an infestation of nested and phantom wormholes and underground bases. It's been infiltrated. This is significant because it is a, I don't know what that word is, point in the world of conscious. So we're going to say this. This is significant because it is a main point in the world of conscious memories that relate to the future timelines of evolution of the human race on this planet. This planet has been a world of consciousness memories where the truth of human evolution histories have been erased. This has been done by multiple competing species with an attempt to completely destroy heretical records in the timelines by negative aliens. This phase will be revealed more in depth extraterrestrial involvement for our planet, and I don't want to read all that. Let's see. Multi-occupants equals sole possession. Through the law of consent, it is your sovereign right to command your space and remain single sole occupancy in your body, mind, and conscience. I know it's split mind, split talk, double talk. Single soul occupancy is the original soul matrix designed for the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensions that unite these layers into the wholly merged and integrated consciousness within our physical body. Many people on Earth are not single soul occupied and have multiple occupants, soul fragments, attachments, or entity hosting them. How does this happen? The hidden agendas of multiple invading extra-dimensional species include hibernation programs, breeding programs, Section 8, genetic modification, and multiple manipulation of the DNA. The manipulation of the DNA works both for genetic enhancement of the preferred bloodlines that are hybridized with primary reptilian genetics, with others are genetically digressed and dumbed down to be working slave class. Whether a person is adopted or subsequently genetically altered with enhancements to perform certain roles or digress in order to be made spiritual zombie. Both methods of genetic modification are the results of invading species intended to completely dominate Earth resources. Humans are grouped into planetary resources as slave labor, replicated into clones, imaged into further, like they say, they say ghouls, imaged into future synthetic holograms, or used as bargaining tools with other species. As an example, children are convicted for abduction and sold on and off planet for sexual slavery by the alien groups. That's where you got all this sexual traffic coming from in high places. This is why sexual slavery is a global epidemic and will not improve until humans realize the sexual misery program and pedophilia are the source from aliens and do not feed them. This is not human. Let me see.
But the soulless ones and the soul ones were both asleep. Now when we understand this pineal gland flashes more and more, as the pyramid begins to also begin to give off sound and the Sphinx begins to vibrate, that is only a sign that the sons of God are calling forth their fathers and the angels are now being summoned to return. When they come back, the sky will be full of spaceships. Some are already there and seen by those who can see in that frequency. Others never see them. When that happens, all granite formations in, on, and around our Earth will begin to give off sounds and vibrations. It will be a sign. With that will increase mighty earthquake and volcanic activity. It has to be that way. And if you happen to live on a fault line, you best move. If you hold back further the retardation of this planet, you are not serving the planet, and the planet cannot serve you. You'll always be told, once you're a psychic, when to move on and what to avoid. And the more you come in tune with the lines of force coming into our planet, the more will be your radio that is built in that will operate, and you will just know what to do or what to avoid. You'll know who to trust and who to accept. You'll know when you're powerful and when you're weak, and you'll know what to do to increase either one. The thing is, will you follow that inner voice and that inner sign? To conclude the part of the man lecture, man is separate from mankind, who is an invention by the Lord God. The Lord God is a planetary ruler, as each planet has rulers, and this one went a little bit berserk because of things that happened, which we'd have to talk about, which is under the science called cosmology. It has nothing to do with the first cause, God, a creator. Please do not say that I said that. We're talking about advanced beings who from time to time see the planet and from time to time even interfere with the planet, and now they must move on. The creation that was here, that went through all of this, will be double rewarded, because the souls that choose to incarnate at this time, which we call children, and have incarnated for the last 40 years, the advanced triggers, now will be rewarded for what they came here and suffered greatly through to get the job done and to show again that the angels could return. Children are our key. That's why the state wants to run your children, disrupt your home, and do everything it can to stop that soul from awakening and being the mighty army that they were sent here to be. This is where we must talk to women and mothers. We must talk to the man, however, because in many cases it is the boy child that is the one that will carry forth the great ruler out of which his continents will come, that the angels will walk through and work through, and whose chamber will awaken just as the Sphinx and pyramid is awakening. Let me just say this as I conclude the first part. They not only have found the same Sphinx on Mars, as Zulu also told you, but on the moon, on Jupiter, and everywhere they go, the same Sphinx bears them back. The sons of God did not just come to the earth. They are the masters of our solar system and our constellation. Just as in Star Wars there was wars between the good and bad, there was a war here on earth. They hid that book from the Bible, the Wars of the Lords. They hid all of the things that would let you begin to understand that you were different from the other races of earth, and earth was your home, not theirs. But now that you can come into consciousness, you won't have to worry about getting out in the street with AKs, going out in the street and shooting them up. You can carry more power that will stop any bullets from being fired. You can cause earthquakes to happen or not. You can cause fire to actually come from the sky. And I'm not trying to compliment you, because misuse will burn you up too. It's just a simpler way of understanding. As you're beginning to come into your own, certain conditions are necessary. First, if you cannot separate, then you must separate in the mind and spirit, so you do not vibrate with those who will be destroyed by this change. And next, if you don't believe in spaceships, that's good. But if you do believe in the New Jerusalem and in chariots of fire, it's the same thing. The angels of the Bible are the space people. That's all that they were, advanced scientists, and some of them act pretty dumb, in fact. They also have weaknesses and strengths. But the good guys from Sirius are on their way back. Because of that, you have the annual enemy, the people from Orion and Lyra, still giving you the new metaphysical cosmic books, which still lie to you. But Earth will be a testing ground like you have not seen, and you will be alive to see it. So before you go crazy, understand you're going to see things in the sky, things on the earth and in the sea that will make everybody tremble. But understand, they will still serve you if you but know who you are.
Every day that you wake up, nigga, you richer than you ever been. Every day that you're free, nigga, you richer than you ever been. My kids can't even go out the door. My 8-year-old baby says she don't even want to go out and play because she's scared she gonna get shot. Wanna see my life a movie, press play. Bitch, the street ain't checkers, it's a chess game. Now let's play. One time niggas blazing at us daily, I must say. We was brave, killed my nigga, we backed out the next day. And I ain't even hesitate. Did some shit in Port Lean, cause that's my way to meditate. And we took niggas' breath away. See some shit I never say. Bullet hit him and missed me, but I was just a step away. Damn, I caught a blessing. When we taught that upper lesson, shooters cap an alpha step. I done let off Smith and Wesson. 30 shots, 357. 40 clock my preference. That compact 27. And a 23, that's the regular. Staying strapped cause I'm getting set. I can't go to hell and live like 4 lives. Let out 4-5. Niggas roll me dead, I'm still alive, that's no surprise. I'ma put that bitch right in between like both his eyes. Do the wrong shit, we at his addy going inside. Chopper in my hand, I got a pistol on my side. I'ma put this bitch right in his mouth like open wide. Word to the wise, I used to roll with older guys. So he might be bigger than me, but this bitch is oversized. We gon' dress up for the hit, cause that's before his time. Like he saw a magic trick, I'm trying to blow a nigga mad. I ain't say he was no bitch, I saw the soul in his eyes. I don't give a fuck, I'm still gon' put his skull in his thighs. Kobe took his last breath, I seen him roll in his eyes on the 9. He know we ain't sleep, we rolled on him. And this savage shit was tough, it took a toll on us. Had to keep the poles on us, Reaper tried to hold on us. And you supposed to be a killer, but you told on us. Fuck your dead homies, we had gloves on us. Niggas hate us, we get money, now we glowed on them. Savage niggas turned over, VVS and gold on us. Please put the guns down. I don't want to die anymore. Our kids want to play. So listen, you're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose? Report live from the upside of